Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Well, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's the Mark Order Podcast here on the Shining Wizards Network. It's the Holy Triumvirate here again today. It is Kate the Great. And
That's me.
Ryan Schlong.
That's me.
And AntMoney on a Wednesday night. The Wednesday before Xmas. On a holiday bash night. Winter is here. And boy, has winter come. It is cold outside. Maybe it's cold outside.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
I shouldn't say that. We'll get canceled. What's going on, everybody? This music's going to cut off hard in a second, so we should be talking. Haven't done any production work. No time.
No need. I liked it abrupt. It's like a time limit draw. It just cuts out and it ends and it's beautiful. There it is.
It really is so abrupt.
Oh my goodness,
listen,
guys.
2022 is going to be our year. It will be the year I finally get to do maybe a little more production work and be more prepared. It'll be the year, Schlong, I think, that we finally launch our Dark show.
I hope so, because that'd be a really long time to not.
Yeah. 2022. Q4 of 2022. It's still 2022, damn it.
December of 2022. I can't wait.
That's right. So before we get to how we're doing, guys, clearly there's an absence here. None other than the mean one, Mr. Matt. He let us know very late he wasn't here. I'm not sure. I think he said he was having car trouble or something like that. All I know is that he sent me a photo of himself on the drive home, and this is what it looked like. So it's pretty accurate. He's looking mean. He's looking green. He's a mean one. That's Mr. Matt. Millionaire Matt.
That's the best he's ever looked. I'm not gonna lie. He looks great.
His hair looks phenomenal.
It's the best his hair looked. He's not even really wearing pants in that picture, so he can't shit them.
That's right.
Good.
That's right. No chance at shitting pants when you're not wearing them.
No chance. It shouldn't pay.
I'm talking in a lot of rhymes tonight. I don't know
I
why.
like it. Why not?
Looks like someone's wrapping the rankings.
Guess what?
There's no
Someone could
rankings.
wrap the rankings if there were rankings this week.
I looked myself. I know there's not.
There are none.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it'll save us 2 minutes. So, Kate, how are you doing tonight?
I'm okay. My sister has COVID, so she can't come home for Christmas. So I'm super bummed about that. But other than that, things are good. I did some last minute holiday shopping and some mailing. I have been sick basically since before Final Battle. So I got myself a COVID test because I was concerned, even though I didn't have a fever, but I've had it twice. So I feel like I'm probably pretty susceptible. But that came back negative. So Merry Christmas to me. But then I was like, oh shit, I can do some stuff before Christmas because I got my test results back and I didn't want to go to the post office when I didn't know if I had COVID or not. So,
Right.
But feeling better. I thought it was a sinus infection. Seems like I was right. Got an antibiotic. I'm back up. I'm back at it. Living the dream. Glad to be talking wrestling and the go home to Christmas with you guys.
Well, rats, Ryan, we were on the down low. We were hoping sort of that Kate was a second breakthrough case and got Omicron in hopes that she would have gotten all 3.
Yeah.
Just because that would have been amazing. And
Go
I said,
play the penny slots.
That's it. Pull the lever at the slot machine, get some scratch offs, play the Powerball, because that would be amazing.
I mean, honestly, a great way to get it a third time is probably to go pull some levers at AC. So
yeah. Well,
I would just laugh if Kate was the only person to ever be proven to have had all the variants.
Every variant. Kate is patient 0. That's
Guys,
what we'll find out.
I can't help that I'm exceptional, okay?
Oof.
By the way, Kate, Jay Shell says you're just living your best life.
I am living my best life. I am on Jay Shell's podcast tomorrow, which I'm very excited about, which is fantasy booking based. So that should be a super awesome, amazing, wonderful time. We're talking Braun Breaker NXT and trios titles, since they look to be somewhat imminent here in AEW. So that should be a very, very fun one. And I hope they're prepared to hear about Proud and Powerful and Eddie Kingston.
It's going to be like an 8-hour show. My goodness.
It's going to be a long one.
8 hours.
No, you don't even realize, because Jay Shell is going to get into Daniel Garcia in 2.0. And it's going to be Kate with her guys versus Jay. I did the show today. It's going to play somewhere late in January. And all I did was tease Jay Shell the whole entire time. So
good, as you should.
I had the Ass Boys as my background.
Fantastic.
The New Jacks and the Ass.
Schlong, how are you, man?
I'm good. I've had a cold for over a week now. It's not COVID. Been tested. Not COVID. So I'm a little jealous when I hear people be like, yeah, I got Ami and it was 3 days and I was better. It's like, yeah, I've had this since last weekend. Not this past one, the one before that. And I'm still dealing with it. So really would like it to go away. But otherwise good. I'm festive.
Well,
that's a hat.
Good. You do have a hat.
Do have a hat.
You do have a hat. You are not a Grinch like Mr. Matt.
Or you, who has a Ghostbusters Christmas hoodie downstairs and won't go down and get it.
It's in the closet downstairs with a whole bunch of other stuff. I totally forgot about it. I have my other Macho Man jacket hanging though tonight. So that's fun.
I'm just looking at our chat, and other people have sinus infections and colds too. I really think like us having suppressed immune systems is a very real thing, from the fact that we just didn't go anywhere and we've been wearing masks for like 18 months.
Yeah.
Like everybody I know is sick with something.
No,
Omicron
it's real.
or anything else. Yeah.
It's very real. I can say this. I was in Worcester, Massachusetts last weekend for the Shadows Fall reunion show with like Darkest Hour and Unearth and Sworn Enemy. Great show, sold out, a little frightening because it's it's like being in a state theater, right? It's like a pretty big indoor venue, some seats upstairs, not on the floor, but their floor is like multiple levels. As I hit my mic. So going in, Mrs. Money and I were like, fuck this. We're wearing a mask. I don't care what's going on. Mike Peterson saying I was in his area and didn't tell him. If you look in the Discord, Mike, I definitely put that I was going up to Worcester for the show this weekend. So got to keep an eye on the Discord, pal.
Butler Ant.
What's that?
See you in Butler Ant.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if
I put that in the Discord like 4 times.
When? Before that show? All right, that was like 6 months ago. What's the difference?
Oh my goodness. What's the difference? You saw me at a show and you didn't say hi, but you had a little maniac with you.
Yeah, I had zero chance. I was going to the bathroom like 5 times every 10 minutes. Anyway, so we went to this show and I said, fuck it, I'm wearing a mask all night. And there was a mask mandate, but I shit you not, like 3/4 of the room was definitely not wearing a mask once you got inside. So I'm lucky enough to have Mr. William Mercier Jr. My life is in his hands. I quite literally, because he was telling me that his pals who were all at that show are starting to test positive for COVID. So now, while I'm already keeping track of how I'm feeling, and I had lost my voice over last weekend anyway, so that was fun. I'm keeping track of how I'm feeling fine. Hopefully my masking up and keeping as socially distanced from others as I possibly could at a sold out concert will prove me right. I'm boosted too though, so hopefully I'm in the clear. We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. I
Boosting
don't
makes
want
a
to
big
be
difference.
Yeah, well it wouldn't be I guess it would be a breakthrough cuz I'm vaxxed, but I didn't have COVID before I got vaxxed, so I really don't want it.
You don't need to brag, okay? Some
I
of
don't
us
want it.
just
I
get
mean,
it
if it
all
makes
the
you feel
time.
better, like I said, with this new one, apparently if you are boosted, it's very, very mild. If you,
Don't
if as
care.
long as you
Don't want it.
Well, I can't help you there.
Don't care. Don't want it.
No one wants it, but I don't want this cold, and yet I'm dealing with it.
Yeah, but it's a cold.
But that's what Omi will be if you're boosted.
Listen, I don't want it. I don't want to be sick at all. I had a little guy with a stomach virus last week. My wife got sick with a cold. I was like the last man standing here trying to. It was like in a zombie movie when you're the last person alive in the building and you're just like, stay back, everybody stay back, like doing whatever you can to keep the horde away. That's
You
what
had
I
like
felt
an
like.
illness gauntlet going on in your house.
I did. At one point, I think I even said to Mrs. Money, I think I'm going to get a hotel room just to get out of here. But I didn't wind up getting sick. I thought I did. Actually, after last week's show, I went to the living room to kind of clean up some stuff, and my throat felt scratchy, and I was like, "Oh God, here it comes." And the next morning, it still felt a little scratchy, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm definitely going to get sick." And then it went away, and I just lost my voice.
Part of why my sinus infection got so bad was I usually get them like fall seasonal allergies, and I was just so worried I had COVID again that I got tested like 2-3 times. Didn't have COVID, and I was like, oh well, it must be a head cold. It didn't even occur to me that it could have had a sinus infection until like
literally any other
week.
illness.
I was like, oh right, there's other illnesses in the world. Like I just haven't completely didn't even consider.
We still deal with other sickness, not just COVID.
Yeah, like regular flu happens. Like it's just, but Christmas is around the corner.
Christmas is around the corner.
What's
January
the hot ticket item for like
a
young man like baby A?
I mean, he asked Santa for a whole bunch of stuff. Pretty much everything. Jesus, there's so much stuff under this desk, under my feet, that I'm just like kicking everything. He asked for so many things, pretty much just everything in like the whatever book you get now, Target or Amazon sends a book. He just pretty much circled like everything. He really wanted some Transformers. For his funny enough, for his birthday in June, he kept asking us for a Nintendo. And I'm like, you're way too, like 4 is too young for a Nintendo. He didn't even bring it up around Christmas, so I didn't even have to worry about that. But I have a feeling he's going to be very happy. Santa, I have a feeling he's going to be very good to him, although he's been a prick the last couple days. So Santa... Is
he a Paw Patrol fella?
He's kind of fallen out of Paw Patrol, but he definitely was into Paw Patrol. He was into all those kids shows.
Man, it just seems to be like the big one. I feel like Peppa Pig is out and Paw Patrol is in.
He was never into Peppa Pig. We made sure. No Peppa Pig.
Peppa Pig's head looks like a dick, right? Come on, let's be honest. The nose on Peppa Pig is a little schlongy looking.
I'm concerned about the dicks you've been looking at. If you think Peppa Pig looks
as am I, now that I'm thinking about it.
Jesus, Kate.
No, look at Peppa Pig's face.
What kind of mangled cocks have you been looking at?
No, but like for a kid's show, it sure is kind of dick looking. I mean, like a pig. This does not look like a pig's face.
Listen, all I can tell you is this: we didn't watch Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig was out in this house. We also,
it's a little dick-like.
I mean, we also
with ball cancer, but dick-like.
Yeah, I have no idea. We didn't do a lot of Peppa Pig.
You know what, Kate? I can see it.
Right? It's a little dickish.
I mean, and if you stare at it long enough, I think anything looks like a dick.
Like
I see what you're saying.
Smile is, that's.
But it looks like somebody chopped it off at the end.
It
There
does.
you
It
go.
looks like there was an unfortunate incident.
And then for some reason they drilled a second pee hole into it.
Fucking ow.
My God. What are we doing? No Peppa Pig, no Caillou. I think that was the guy's name, Caillou. He was like this bald kid. Callaloo. I don't know what it was, but we said absolutely not to that. And then there was some turtle show too that we said absolutely not to.
Were
Just
they
seemed
Teenage
very...
Mutants?
No. Teenage Mutants are fine. I even have the complete original series that we thrown on for him. I'm like, get rid of that new school stuff. They don't even look like turtles. What are we doing?
Raise them right. Do they look like mangled dicks? Or do they look like
I
turtles?
guess they look like mangled Martian dicks, I guess. But yeah, I have a feeling Santa will be good to him. He's got a couple days to straighten himself out. And who knows, maybe on if Instagram starts working for me again, maybe we'll put up some pictures of the wrestling related stuff that we've received for Christmas. I have a feeling a couple of us will be receiving wrestling related items. And I did, so you guys know, every Wednesday I try to put up the card for Dynamite up on our socials just so people know what we'll be talking about. And Instagram, nothing I did would get Instagram to work. I couldn't post a regular post. I couldn't post a story. I couldn't post a video. Nothing worked. So I'm hoping it straightens itself out because I would like to put something up for Christmas. Hey, look at what we've gotten. What did you get? You know?
I just realized Matt couldn't be here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And you're giving somebody that's not him wrestling gifts. I'm just going to say, make sure you double lock your doors. Maybe plug up the chimney and make sure that guy's not coming down it. Because I think Matt, like, very conveniently couldn't be here. Might be on his way to steal your shit.
I mean, listen, there's nothing here because Santa hasn't come yet.
That's a really good point. Just keep an eye out. I'm just saying.
I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep both eyes open. But
pillow tight.
Yeah. So, well, Kate, it's a bummer your sister won't be there for Christmas. She's gonna have a blue Christmas with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have a blue Christmas without you.
I mean, I said it. You didn't need to sing it.
It's
I did.
It's a very singy podcast.
Oh my God.
You're outnumbered on puns and songs today, pal. I don't know what to tell you.
So guys, January 5th we'll be in Newark. We know
pending.
Well, that's right. Pending a pandemic, we'll be in Newark. If you're going to Newark, they just announced that masks are required, whether you're vaccinated or not. So have a mask. And we know at least one of the matches we're going to get that night. We'll talk about that a little bit later as we get into Dynamite. And then it is safe for us to announce that we have secured our tickets to February, what is that, 8th?
Woohoo!
February 8th, I think, in Atlantic City. The entire Mark Order podcast will be in attendance, ladies and gentlemen. We're all going to be in one place at the same time. That's right. Matt and Ryan aren't the same person. They're two different people.
It is the 9th, just to clarify, but same week. Yeah.
I'm not looking at the calendar. Mrs. Money will be in attendance.
Yeah.
We're going to spend the night. That'll be fun. We still have to figure out where we're staying, but it's all good. That'll be fun. So we're all going to get to hang out. That'll be fun.
I know. I'm very excited.
And we'll see, what's in store for that. I think we have some high hopes for what's going to happen at that Dynamite. But boy, there's a lot to get to before we get to February 9th, even January 5th. Guys, let's talk about Rampage real quick last week from December 17th. We had our 8-man tag team kick off the show. It was the one true only chaos, Kate.
Right, the only one that matters.
The only chaos in existence. That's what Matt says. So
yeah, he's not here, but I feel confident speaking on his behalf about that.
That's right. And then we had the Young Bucks, Bobby Fish and Adam Cole. I
have a quick question.
Yes.
If Matt were here, Would he prefer Taz with 1Z or 2?
2, because WWE ECW is the only one that mattered. Much
Perfect.
like this is the only chaos that matters.
makes
That New Japan bullshit doesn't count. That's not real.
Yeah, he's usually like that New Japan bullshit. So
That's right.
that makes sense. I was just like thinking about that and like I wonder what Matt would say, but I think you're right. Taz with
Nope.
2 Z's,
Absolutely.
WWECW, perfect.
WWECW, home of the legendary title holders, CM Punk,
Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder. That's right. What an esteemed championship that wound up being.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that first match we had Chaos, Orange Cassidy, Rocky Romero, Trent, and Chuck Taylor defeat the Young Bucks, Bobby Fish, and Adam Cole. We got the 5-way hug because you got to give the people what they want. And then we get into some other stuff. I don't know if you guys want to go through this in any detail. We definitely don't have to. I can run through this card and then we could talk about it.
Let's just run through the card, I think.
Perfect. Dan Lambert showed back up. We don't need to go into too much detail there. He blah, blah, blah'd until he was red in the face. Cody came down, though, and they had a little wrestling match back and forth, grabbing the microphone. And then basically they got into a little bit of a brawl, and Sammy comes out to save Cody. We also got Tay Conti versus Penelope Ford. Tay Conti, unfortunately, beats the Kate the Great lookalike Penelope Ford, and then afterwards the Bunny knocks out Kay with the brass knuckles. Anna Jay runs off the heels with a chair, and then we get the interview from Mark Henry on the 10 participants in the main event. That's Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, Santana, and the Lucha Brothers versus Daniel Garcia, the Acclaimed, and 2.0. And then it was time for our main event. Daniel Garcia, the Acclaimed, and 2.0 wound up defeating Kate's Eddie Kingston, Santana, Ortiz, and the Lucha Brothers. Afterwards, Anthony Bowen smashes Kingston in the head with a boombox, and then Jurassic Express comes in to make the save with Christian. And Jungle Boy picks up the tag team title, slowly hands them over to the Lucha Brothers. Everybody kind of shakes hands, and we go off the air with the commentators basically noting that Eddie Kingston has chased Daniel Garcia. So clearly Eddie and Danny Garcia are not done. I don't know. Let's be interesting. Ryan, you're an Eddie Kingston mark and a mark of so many more things that on this show than Kate is. So why don't you talk about whatever you'd like about Rampage? What did you think of the show? Anything stand out for you?
The main event. I'm surprised by who won, because if you look at it on paper, the Lucha Brothers and Santana and Ortiz with Eddie Kingston are the superior team. Like you have titles, they've been, but it's a good way to give them the loss that's needed in a feud like Eddie Kingston's kind of building, because no individual team looks bad. It was a mix of two teams. You can claim they weren't getting along. There's a whole lot you could do. So it made a lot of sense. Chaos winning made sense for tonight's stuff. So I won't go too far into that. I forget what you said the middle match was already.
Tay and Penelope.
Yep, Tay and Penelope.
That was actually a fine match. I have nothing bad about that match. But the problem is you just knew what was going to happen. That feud is. Yeah. I like that they have stories. I just wish the story wasn't constantly Tay or Anna wins, gets knocked out. Change it up. Do something different.
At least, though, I'll at least say this. They did this, and this was a submission match. I forgot to mention. This was the submission match. There was some really good submission work. I mean, Penelope Ford, when she locks something in, really makes it look painful. But at least the brass knuckles didn't come into play for the submission piece of it, right? Like, at least Penelope didn't knock, or the Bunny at least didn't knock out Tay Conti, and then Penelope slapped on some hold, and then, they rang the bell because she's passed out. Like, I was actually fine with the fact that it happened afterwards, because it's been happening. Like, the brass knuckles have been coming into play to get involved in the match outcome. So at the very least, Ryan, I hear what you're saying, and I kind of agree with you here, but I'm just glad they didn't come into play to affect the outcome of the match.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I agree with you on that, and I'm just like, this has been going on for months and months and months, so much so that it was happening before Tay was in the title picture, and then she was in the title picture, and then just dropped back to this feud. Like, let's move on. It doesn't even really make sense why it's happening in the first place. The Hardy family office is falling apart. Jack Evans is getting extorted. People are out with injuries. Like, let's just let it go. And my complaint with the brass knuckles after the match spot is just like, how dumb are our referees and babyface is going to be looking constantly? Like, oh, are you surprised Bunny showed up and that she had brass knuckles? Like, come on. She's not that clever about how she uses them, how often she uses them, the fact that she's there. So that is just getting very old for me. Though I do feel like when Tay eventually does have a title run with either title, this submission match stuff is something that should be a continual thread. Like, I think it's a very effective style match for her. I think for the most part, Penelope did a great job with her submissions as well and selling them because she is so like literally just like flexible and acrobatic. So I'm with you on that. Chaos winning made sense. I thought Fish taking the pin made a whole lot of sense. And I really liked, I mean, I never like seeing Eddie Kingston lose. He's my man. But I do like, on Friday, I compared it to when Scorpio Sky beat Jericho a little bit. Like, sometimes AEW is so logical and clean about their booking that when they throw one of these surprises at you, it doesn't hurt Eddie Kingston at all here. It does do something for Daniel Garcia. So I liked the surprise booking there. And also keeping in mind that it was done in the context of the Winter is Coming episode that we got. Like, the live fan experience started with, you know, your dark stuff, but then started with a 1 hour match and they're hanging in this long. Like, a booking surprise at the end is a nice thing to give your live crowd too, I think. So not a fan of how formulaic Rampage can get sometimes, like with the post-match beatdowns and like, oh, there's a women's match in the middle. And it is usually a little more predictable, but it's also like a 1 hour bonus show. I just think eventually we're going to get trios titles, and it's very possible they're just going to have to expand a Rampage to 2 hours if they intend on keeping a roster that's going to be this large realistically. Like, it just is, there's enough there for 4 hours, I think, and I feel like 10 o'clock is a death slot anyway, so why don't you move it to a time that's more advantageous and expand is my thinking on it. But overall, this was not like my favorite episode, but it kept the train moving. And I like the booking surprise for Garcia. He's main evented Rampage 1 million times at this point. I feel like he should get a win there.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too, to your point about Rampage being a little formulaic, excuse me, it's almost like, what do you, not like this isn't directed to you, Kate, but like in general, like what do you expect? It's to get you to go to watch Wednesday, right? So, you know, the beatdowns come in hopes that I guess you're going to go see what happens on Wednesday or the Darks, right? So it's to kind of continue to feed your interest. So to that, you know, I get why it happens. It sort of makes sense, but I'm with you. Sometimes it's like, well, Tay is definitely beating Penelope Ford, you know. I think we all kind of thought that Chaos was going to win that opener match, but I'm with you. The main event definitely surprised me, the outcome. I didn't think that the heels were going to get over, but they definitely did. And yeah, Bobby Fish being in that opener is definitely there to eat the pin when you look at all the people who are in that match. You know, it's not going to be Trent just coming back. You know, it's not going to be the Bucks. It's not going to be Cole or Orange Cassidy. You know, so that totally makes sense. But we'll talk. I think that might be changing. Well, maybe not, but maybe it's changing. We'll talk about it once we get into Dynamite. They're continuing to kind of stack up these Rampages. We'll talk about the card for Rampage Christmas Day. Asian Joe saying Rampage is Hook show now. We're all just fortunate, or we're just all fortunate enough to be living during this time. Asian Joe's right. I think I said it last week. When we all look back at the history of professional wrestling, the history of our great sport, of this wonderful business, this great sport of professional wrestling, we're gonna say it's so apparent that the Mount Rushmore is Hook, and you know, Hook when he first came in, Hook a couple years later as he's developing, Hook in his prime, and then Hook after his prime when he is the salted veteran. It's just going to be 4 Hooks at different periods of time. That's it. He's the pillars. He's the Mount Rushmore. He is Hogan, Brett, Sting, Mick Foley, Terry Funk, all rolled into one.
He's all four horsemen.
He's the only horseman, if you ask me. He is maybe going to be more powerful than Marco Stunt. Maybe. That's saying a lot.
All right. He's had one match. Okay, more powerful than Marco Stunt. I haven't even heard Hook sing. I don't even know.
Oh, he can sing, baby. He can sing.
But does he rap with Action Bronson, or is he melodic? I have so many questions about Hook and his vocal abilities.
Kate, have you seen his hair? That's a Harry Styles.
You know what? That's a really good point.
He's a Harry Styles for sure.
He is a Harry Styles. What a mop. What a mop on his head.
Great head of lettuce on that Hook.
What a head of hair, as CM Punk would say about Serena Deeb.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, honestly, that's Rampage, and I thought it was a pretty good Rampage. Again, they're kind of continuing to stack these cards. We will talk about the Christmas edition coming up of Rampage. We got that card announced tonight, so we'll talk about it in a little bit here. We're also going to talk about Holiday Bash Dynamite coming up. I think we're going to take a short break, though, because we've got to kind of reset, get our minds right, get in the holiday spirit of Holiday Bash. And we got to hear about some of these other great shows. Now, Kate,
shows?
Kate, you know that we're part of the Shining Wizards Network, right? Like, you know that.
Since when?
Kate, we're part of the Shining Wizards Network. That the Shining Wizards, been around 10 years. Yeah. They're over 10 years now.
Yeah.
They're heading in. They're working on year 11.
Like over a decade.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
They just had on Sunny Kiss for some reason. Monday night. I don't know how we haven't had Sunny Kiss on, but you know, we'll talk to the Grinch when we eventually pin him down. They had Sunny Kiss on Monday night. They're Monday night, 7 p.m. on the Shining Wizards Network. Wild. But beyond them, if you ask, and us, which I say we're the A show, did you know, Kate, that there are other great shows?
This is brand new information.
I mean, I don't know how many times we have to continue to ask you. You have the mind of a goldfish here, Kate. But
I do a lot of podcasts. It's been a really long week. I didn't even know about other shows. If only there was some brief period of time where somebody was condensing all of those great shows into one easy to find audio clip.
Well, Kate, guess what? Stay tuned, because you're going to hear some words about these other great shows that are part of the Shining Wizards Network right now, and then we will be back.
Everyone knows a lot of things can change in the span of 10 years, but when it comes to professional wrestling podcasting, one thing is still guaranteed. The Shining Wizards is the only place to get all the latest wrestling news, interviews with the greatest guests, and of course, tons of laughs in discussing the world of wrestling. The show is still available on Monday nights at 7 p.m. East on rantemradio.com and Rant Entertainment Media on the TuneIn app, and it's still available on all podcasting platforms. To check us out, head over to shiningwizards.com, where it's still wrestling talk and talk about wrestling.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
Horns up, everyone. When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure every Friday to check out Radioactive Metal. Radioactive Metal is one of the longest running podcasts on the interweb. And every week we bring you a fist full of metal, including interviews with all your favorite artists, discuss all the metal news, and feature the best tunes on the air today. So grab a Lemmy, join your cool Uncle Snowy and co-host Aaron in the pit.
Your recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting from the current to the way back. Join the Impact player Phil Brea and the Portuguese man of war Choppy for the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. live every week on rantemradio.com. Get all our episodes over at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Audio Boom, Google Play, ShiningWizardsNetwork.com, and TurnbuckleThrowbacks.com.
Are you tired of being told what to think and believe by Hollywood elites and politicians who just don't care about you?
Tired of not getting the truth when you watch the news?
Tired of trying to figure out what pronoun to use?
Tired of mob mentality when all you want to do is think for yourself and make up your own mind?
That's where we come in. This is Justin
and Vince,
your hosts of Inconclusive Breakdown.
We are a weekly anti-PC podcast bringing you entertainment and current event news without any spin.
If you want to truly stay informed on what's going on in the world, then give us a listen every Sunday, anywhere you get podcasts, at least till Zuckerberg and Twitter Jack deplatform us.
And as always, we're proud members of the Shining Wizards Network.
Tired of the PC police telling you what you can and cannot say? Want a show that travels back to the 80s and 90s, where the badass hosts have beaten down cancel culture on 3 separate occasions and carried on to gloat about it? Since 2013, The Midnight Jury is that show. Travel back to the malls and arcades, pop in your VHS, and join us where the 80s and 90s return from the dead. Conan, tell them where to find us.
WLWstudios.com, home of the Midnight Jury podcast hosted by Midnight Mike and Calvin Brody.
Also available on all major podcast platforms via the Shining Wizards Network, and join in the conversation on Twitter at Midnight Jury.
What's up, wrestling fans? You want something awesome? Check out Wrestling Night in Canada here on the Shining Wizards Network. We're 3 Canadian metalheads uniting for the love of pro wrestling. Every episode we go over all the latest news and special events with the odd unique interview as well. So grab a cold one and check out Wrestling Night in Canada, eh?
Oh, hey, we're back here on the Mark Order podcast on the Shining Wizards Network. Thanks to everybody watching us on YouTube and chatting along. Want to say that. Also, wanted to remind all you fine folks listening out there, we've got these neato stickers that are absolutely free to anybody who wants them. They're almost out, actually, and then we got to order another batch, or maybe sticker number 2. I don't know. Maybe we'll switch. But if you would like to secure your Mark Order podcast stickers V1, hit us up on our socials at Mark Order Pod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, our YouTube, if you can message us through there, whatever. Just DM us your name and address. We'll send you out stickers for free to anywhere in the world. So please hit us up, and thank you to everybody who has already gotten some free stickers.
Hey, Aunt.
Yo.
I don't want to put myself over too hard, okay? I think we all know I've gone to Hollywood, but I did just want to read this tweet that I got earlier today.
Oh, gosh.
Did she notice I muted her yet or no?
No, absolutely not. And if I could actually find the tweet, I'd actually pull it up here in our video feed.
Only because she started with "I'm putting myself over."
I didn't really like you at first, but now I think you're totally awesome and hilarious. So sorry about that.
I saw that. That was amazing.
Who the fuck sends that to someone?
Well,
like,
I know.
I'm glad you came around on me now. I guess I'm an acquired taste, but like, what the ever-loving fuck is that?
I mean, I would say this, you absolutely are an acquired taste. If you do want to follow Kate, it's at Kate on Deck. I see. She'll
Look at
plug
this
it again
response
later.
though from Joe Evans.
That's right.
I mean,
well,
but if you scroll down, there's another response.
I do want to say this though. The tweet came from Mike Jones. He said, "I didn't really like you at first, but now I think you're totally awesome and hilarious. So sorry about that." Joe Evans said, "I liked you even before you became big time with the bangs."
Thank you, Joe, for being a real one.
But the Mark Order Pod gets it. They totally understand.
You do get it.
I just like I've been going out of my way to tell you I didn't really like you, but now you're pretty neat. Like, just leave the first half of that off. Just give someone a compliment, you weirdo. I got news for you, Mike Jones. I have some issues with you too.
Yo, if that's the Mike Jones though, big ups to the Mike Jones.
Yeah, that's pretty all right.
Mrs. Money still remembers his phone number. I don't remember his phone number.
Wait,
but
what?
you don't remember Mike Jones rapped his phone number in one of his songs?
Was that like a shoot phone number?
Yes, you used to be able to call it, and it was Mike Jones' phone number.
That's amazing.
I remember hearing of this, but I don't think I ever called it.
Yeah, he would be like it was something like Mike Jones 331-801-8774. Like that was it, and then you could call it, and it was him. But
that kind of rules.
Mike Jones had some bangers. All right. So guys, no rankings to talk about tonight. Possibly, I'm guessing because it's the end of the year, rankings are probably going to turn over at some point, you'd hope, at the start of the year. So no rankings to go through tonight. So we're just going to go straight in to Dynamite Holiday Bash here, leading into Christmas. And by the way, Mike Peterson, I did call it back in the day. I left him a message. Yeah, you totally could. That was for real. So we start off the episode tonight with Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy. Chaos member, Orange Cassidy.
Adam Cole, baby.
There you go. So we're going to kind of cut to the end here because we got some other things to talk about. But Adam Cole does win by pinfall with the boom. But how do we get there? Basically, it looks like this is going to go Orange Cassidy's way. And maybe Adam Cole's going to get his first singles loss here in AEW. But Bobby Fish comes down to ringside to run some interference. He's drawing at the referee, Bryce Remsburg. We could see people are up and looking around. But then we notice behind Orange Cassidy pops up on our television a Mr. Kyle Redbeard O'Reilly. And he hits Orange Cassidy. I can't remember his name. Orange Cassidy. He helps take him out.
Orange Cassidy.
That's right. Cast member Orange Cassidy takes him out. That's how Cole gets the win by the pinfall. And post match, O'Reilly is in the ring, beats down Orange Cassidy. Adam Cole starts to pull him off. There's a stare down between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. The best friends then hit the ring, but this threesome of Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly basically work together to help fend them off. And we're basically left with Trent getting taken out by what appears to be a total elimination. I think they're calling it something different. Now we have our three heels standing there in the ring. The Young Bucks come out. They start to give a little bit of a side eye to Kyle O'Reilly. There's a little bit of confusion. Cole is now kind of stuck in the middle looking at both sides, but he decides to leave, and Fish and O'Reilly hug and leave with him. The Bucks are now by themselves, sort of figuring out what's going on, and we go to break. So, I'm going to do this again. Schlong, you're a Kyle O'Reilly mark. Why don't we get your thoughts on this match and the post-match antics?
Is that true?
I'm just.
But I am
calling it as I sees it, Kate.
I mean, it's pretty much a mark for everyone, so that's a safe bet.
Very true.
There, I am an Orange Cassidy mark.
You're an Orange Cassidy and Danny Jordan simp. You're a Kyle O'Reilly mark.
Yeah, we can classify me differently, because we do have to at least establish that this was a really good match. That it was back and forth. Because of the way AEW's booked Orange Cassidy, he could have won. I mean, it wouldn't have been unrealistic. He's been at that level for them. This goes back to people not appreciating that when it comes down to being an actual wrestling match, Orange Cassidy's very, very good. He can do anything you want him to do, and he told the story, and he used his goofiness when it was appropriate, and he used real wrestling when it was more appropriate, and it was perfect. The ending, obviously I'm not a big fan normally. Let me rephrase it. Normally not a big fan of like, oh, distraction, somebody jumps in and beats someone up. However, the caveat there is if you're going to do it because you're debuting someone awesome like Kyle O'Reilly, perfectly acceptable. That is one of those times where it's like, you know what? Because then even logic in this story, there's no reason the best friends would think Kyle O'Reilly's there, so they wouldn't be on the lookout for him. So I'm super excited to see him. I love that they acknowledged that him and Cole had to have some issues because they were fighting in NXT before Cole came over. I like that the Young Bucks do not look happy in that stare down. I like that Kyle O'Reilly looks like cool Kyle. Like, no, he looks like he's got whatever swagger he lost towards the end of his NXT run back. He came in. The Violent Artist is a great nickname. AEW is such a good fit for him because you don't have to be Mr. Personality to get over. You can be just someone who's very, very good at beating people up, and people will love you. So he's a perfect fit. He goes right into a big story. And I think everyone came out looking good. I think Orange Cassidy looks awesome for the match he had. And obviously, you now have an amazing storyline of where does that who has Adam Cole's heart besides Britt Baker?
So real talk, I missed the beginning of this match, but I basically turned it on right when Kyle O'Reilly popped up. So my timing was impeccable, but I really liked what I saw of it. From what I read online, it seemed like a really great piece of storytelling as well, that everybody's cockiness was costing them spots in this match, which I always appreciate, especially with Orange Cassidy. Like, it's nice when there's consequences for all of the entertaining stuff he does, because some of it is superfluous, right? And not geared toward trying to get a victory. So I appreciate that. I will go back and watch it. Very excited for Kyle O'Reilly. I think a lot of people forget he was not always like Adam Cole was the guy of Undisputed Era, right? And then I think Kyle, and then I think Fish, but they all filled a role really well. Kyle O'Reilly's great, and like he's real fun on the mic, and he's great at telling a story. He's probably closer to he's kind of like Cody, where not everything looks necessarily smooth, but he's a damn good storyteller. He lays his shit in really hard. He was fantastic in ROH. He was great in NXT up until kind of the reboot stuff. It was just the story he was inserted into was just trash and made no sense. So I'm excited to see what he does here, and I just forever love how much AEW takes care of the context of the stories that they're telling in, meaning basically the history of them, right? Like Kyle O'Reilly and Cole were feuding before Cole went out on his back to O'Reilly. So I just always really appreciate that, and it just makes the dynamic of everything so interesting, especially with Omega out, because Omega could come back and not fight, like if he's been doing surgeries or whatever, or like he could get in some sort of skirmish, or they could use his injuries as a backstage beatdown if he's bandaged up somewhere. Like there's so many things that they could do if they wanted to break up the Elite. They could obviously reform Red Dragon if they wanted to without Cole in the meantime. Like there's a million different possibilities, and pretty much all of them are real fun. So I will take it. Very glad he's here. Very glad they didn't like wait until Battle of the Belts or whatever. Like just have him here. That's cool. Like that works.
Yeah. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, there's a lot of history between all five of these gentlemen from, Ring of Honor, and then, O'Reilly, Cole, and Fish were in the Undisputed Era. The fans at one point at the end were even chanting Undisputed. Red Dragon in the Ring of Honor days. So there's a lot that they could really dig into with this group of guys, and especially the fact that there's the Super Click and the Elite. Now Cole's kind of stuck in the middle. They can write themselves into a lot of different directions. Yes, Schlong.
All right, so I have a question for both of you. So obviously, O'Reilly and Fish, they could be Red Dragon, that's fine. But the three of them together, what is their AEW name?
The Undisputed Era.
Are we going with Undisputed Era?
No. I don't know. I don't know what that is yet. I think you have to let the angle play out a little bit. The interesting thing is here to me is if this is going to be if there's going to be trios titles, is that your inaugural trios story? Like, which side does Adam Cole choose? Because that's interesting as hell, and that could go toward, they could call themselves the original three, and none of them were there first, right? That's a really fun heel thing to do, or something like that. So, for me, if you're gonna name them, I think you name them something completely different from Undisputed Era, and you go with something that fits whatever story they're gonna tell over the next coming months. So I don't really have an answer yet.
Yeah, I don't know if they even play off that, Schlong. Like, I mean, I think it's like apparent that everybody knows about that, but maybe they just go in a totally different direction and they kind of slow play it, right? Maybe we get a period where it's, we don't know if who Cole is kind of aligned with, or maybe Cole's trying to make peace, be the peacemaker between both groups, trying to kind of have one foot in the elite and one foot in whatever this group is going to be with him, Fish and O'Reilly. And then maybe we figure it out along the way. I don't think they're going to play off Undisputed Era. They seem to not necessarily do those types of things when guys come over. It seems like they kind of let them almost run with whatever they want to run with, right? So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I know that this story is very intriguing. And I think for a group of people who aren't very familiar with Kyle O'Reilly, they'll quickly understand how good he is in the ring once they get to see what he does. I do agree, though, Schlong. I think you said it. What do they call him? The violence artist or something like
Violent
that?
artist, yeah.
The violent artist. Yeah, that's a fantastic kind of ring name. And everything he does looks strong, right? He does everything, looks really strong and looks violent. So I think it'll be good, and this is the best place for him to show up. So glad he finally showed up. And for those wondering, it is official. He is All Elite. They did give him the graphic, so he is in 100%.
It reminds me of Kazarian a little bit with how, just how hard he hits and how much he lays his shit in. It really gives me the same vibes as him.
Yeah, I mean, and you could definitely see those two guys, having a singles match somewhere because, we have to get O'Reilly established a little bit, right? And Kazarian, Kazarian has been that guy a few times, right? To have some matches with people coming in immediately.
Hunter. There's a story there.
Sure.
Just extended version of them.
So we'll see what happens with O'Reilly, but we go to break and come back, and they give a highlight reel of Bryan Danielson versus Adam Page last week, where they did their 1 hour long no limit draw or time limit draw, and then they do announce that on January 5th in Newark, New Jersey, the inaugural TBS Dynamite, we're going to get Hangman Adam Page versus Bryan Danielson 2. And that's all they announced there in that moment. And then we go to the ring for Shivani to interview Hangman Adam Page. And Tony starts to put the match over, says that in his opinion, Page would have won with just a few more minutes. And then Adam Page says that after 60 minutes, nearly totally spent, he was handed that title back and went backstage and thought it was funny that in his 3 years there, he never felt like less of a champion. And the only thing he feels about that match was disappointment. But that's when Bryan Danielson interrupts and he begins to mock Page and says that the fans are who should be disappointed because he kicked Page's ass for 60 minutes, and if anybody should be champion, it's the Dragon. But he's not gonna come out and cry about his feelings. They're gonna have a rematch, and he's gonna kick Page's ass again. Danielson claims that he hurt his leg wrestling John Silver, but he's not going to make that mistake again because he's not going to wrestle again until their rematch on January 5th. But he also says there's another problem, because if Page stalls for another 60 minutes, which I fucking thought was great.
So good.
If Page stalls for another 60 minutes, then they end up in the same position they're in now, with the rightful champion empty-handed and this piece of cowboy shit in the ring holding the title. But he came up with a solution and said that they're going to have judges for the match if the match goes to a draw again. And Page says that it's funny because he thought of all kinds of stipulations, cages and no limits and Iron Man, matches, 2 out of 3 falls. And he says it's funny because he thought of the match stipulations because Bryan dragged him out into the deep waters and tried to hold him under. But in the final seconds, the ones that counted more, Page swam. And if he had more seconds, he would have drowned Danielson. But if they keep the time limit and Dragon wants judges, it's fine. Let's get some old guys some paydays, but make sure to pay them in advance because they won't earn it. Page says he's come too far, spilled too much blood, and given way too much of himself for the title to have some pricks at ringside and tell him he's not good enough, that he's a B-plus player. That's horseshit. And if the question is, can Hangman beat the American Dragon in less than 1 hour and 2 weeks? The answer will be yes. So now we're off to the races again, folks. 2 weeks. We're going to get the second match. There's going to be judges at ringside in case this goes to another 60-minute time limit. Now, Kate, I'm going to throw it to you first here. 1, what do you think of the promo? And 2, what do you think of this stipulation on the match of judges? Like, does this make you think like they're definitely going 60 minutes? Or is this something else? Somebody's going to get involved. We're going to have funky judges here, and they're going to basically try to help Danielson kind of win this match.
When I heard judges, the first thing that my brain went to was Jonathan Gresham. That is an ROH move to have judges at ringside all of a sudden. Very, very Ring of Honor. And with the promo that we saw post final battle, it sure as hell sounded like Gresham was coming for Danielson and probably Punk at some point. And you need judges for things like Pure Rules. So this might be a good introduction to that. And it also did feel like, are they going to do another 60 minutes? I don't think they will. I think you want to leave that one as its own masterpiece. I don't think you want to try and do what you did. And I don't think there's a better story that you could tell 2 weeks down the line or 3 weeks down the line or whatever. Like, I think you want that to be what it was. And I also think you don't want to fatigue an audience because while that was incredible, if you do that a bunch, it's going to wear thin. Like that's its own specialty place, right? So I can't imagine them going an hour again. I feel like for Hangman, it should be a clean victory. But what I loved with this promo, there were so many things I loved with it. Like initially, I didn't love the draw. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I wanted Hangman to have a clean victory in his first defense. And now what they just did with it, of Hangman saying, I've never felt less like a champion because he didn't get that victory, completely justifies it for me. Like, I love that he wasn't okay with that. And so now he needs this rematch to feel like a champion, right? Like, that's just so perfectly done. And the way he was describing what he went through and looking at the title and seeing his face in it, like, God, it felt so personal. And I really bought into, I didn't chase this title for 2 years to not win definitively, right? Like, I was so in on everything that Hangman was selling me. And then Danielson, like, Schlong alluded to it last time. He did an interview where he just lied to you and you didn't know it, right? He said this thing of like, he compared to Hangman to Stone Cold, which is such a great thing to do. Like, let's compare him to somebody that A, puts him over, but also B, is like a WWE guy while he's kind of this E-drone character. And also said like, oh, I don't have to do these long matches, so that's why I get to be me at my best. This is actually, I think, my favorite version of Bryan Danielson. Like, the way he is playing this character is so perfect, like so well done to a T. It's the perfect dance partner for Hangman. And it's just like these they're calling him an anxious, entitled cowboy. Like, what a fucking dig. Like, and it's It's just these adjustments of the guy that he came in as following through. And man, I don't think I've seen him be so great at this side of the craft ever. And part of it is stylistically what WWE does, but he was very successful there too. This just feels so rooted in the fact that he's actually the best wrestler in the world. So I think it's fucking awesome. But the judges thing made me think of ROH. I feel like Gresham is coming. I think Gresham, if Gresham gets set up and we're there, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah,
like that's just so great. And to see Danielson giving us, I mean, to me, that's like another dream match. Like he had Omega, he had Suzuki. He's gonna give us Gresham. Like this is just one absolutely fucking awesome run. I'm really, really as excited and in love with the CM Punk return as I've been and will always be because he's my guy. This Danielson run it's a Mount Rushmore level run. Like it's just been so inspiring and incredible.
Yeah, the funny thing, kid, is if it didn't come up, I was gonna pitch the Gresham angle because that was where my mind went. Like I saw some chatter, people saying like, "Well, it's definitely got to go 60 minutes, right? Like because of the judges. Like you don't call judges out." I said no.
60 minutes that fast.
Nope.
Like,
but the first thing, no lie, that my mind went to once I heard the word judges was pure rules. It's gonna eventually this is gonna turn pure rules, and Gresham's gonna emerge somewhere. So I think you and I are sort of on the same page. Schlong, what did you think? And were you along the same lines thinking possibly this somehow turns into pure rules?
No.
Not this match per se. I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to be like, I came so late into ROH that that's not where my brain goes first. I get it now. Like what you say makes a lot more sense. Real quick, I have points, but I just want to give Kevin, liked the entitled millennial insult, which worked because that's what Hangman calls himself. He calls himself a millennial cowboy. No, my mind went immediately to a story I could see being told. Doesn't mean it's going to happen because they're far better at this than I could ever be. But I could see Danielson losing because he's trying to go to judges and Hangman knocks him out. Not necessarily with a punch, but like Danielson knows he can't really in his head. Danielson thinks he can't finish Hangman because he couldn't. So instead, he knows he can out wrestle him. So he's going to go to the judges. And then that cost him because Hangman goes for the killing blow and gets him.
It's also just setting up a protected loss, right? Like something that AEW is so consistently good at. It's just like, oh, well, now Danielson can go blame the judges or whatever. So to your point, like both of those things could happen. Gresham could show up and that story could still definitely unfold.
Well, just imagine Danielson loses because he gets cocky or he makes a mistake, or like I said, the way I did it, he went for points and lost because he's got knocked out. And then one of your judges is Gresham, who just starts mocking Daniel, feeling like, hey, you couldn't do it. Tried to fight under my rules and you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of story there to tell. I'm curious to see what's next for Hangman, because if he beats Danielson definitively, you're gonna have to bring him someone who's of a equal level. There's not a lot of those guys right now, so you're gonna have to do that quickly.
Do you, or could you just tee up MJF for it? Or
are you ready to give MJF the title?
No, but you could start a story there. I think that handwriting on the wall of the drunk cowboy versus the straight edge prick is, I think, a few steps away.
Actually, that's why I'm more curious. I think he's a few steps away from a couple feuds that I'd really like. So I'm very curious to who his intermediary feud is, which I guess that means it doesn't have to be at that level. You could have a weaker feud because it's just to give you some.
You could immediately throw Miro in, I think.
You could. I've got another way this maybe could go, and it kind of plays into the next segment, so I'm going to hold on it. But I will say this, KJG is in the chat, and he said he wished the heel turn was done better, but Bryan Danielson has been great in this role. I have to say, Kevin, I didn't mind the way that they did this turn because the subtle turn on his character, I think, made sense to me. Now, I want obviously your guys' take on it, but when he came in, he was a face, but he was saying some heel shit. Like, he was like, nobody here can wrestle. I can wrestle, right? So, like, for me, I didn't have a problem with the way that they addressed this, right? Like, I think it went fine. And I think because of the way that they were going to line up that tournament, the rumors were it was going to be Mox and he was going to turn hard. I think that this was the best way to play it. You took somebody who was such a face and did such a subtle turn where you weren't sure at first if he was a heel, but then quickly you realize this guy's a fucking heel. I thought it was done just fine. I don't know. Kate, what do you think?
So initially my reaction was kind of similar to Kevin's. I was thinking about like my comments on the show that they were setting this up on, and I was like, well, he's not turning full heel. He's just going to lean into this heelish behavior. And then by the next week, he was like full blown. So I felt like it was kind of weird because I felt like it was hinting, and then all of a sudden, like, he was a heel. But when I think of the context of Bryan Danielson and what he was doing before that, the shit he was saying to Eddie Kingston, like, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, him as a heel is who he was as a face, just like with a little bit of a different turn to be like, you didn't live up to your potential, and now he's sincerely the best wrestler in the world. Like, it's the type of heel he is, makes it seem like all of his face behavior before that was just framed differently. So I like it much more now that we've seen this version of Danielson play out. But like, I thought for sure it was just going to be a one-off with Hangman. It was going to be edgy face Danielson versus Hangman, and then all of a sudden we got, I'm going to kick your fucking head in, Danielson. And I've loved it since. So initially my gut reaction was similar to Kevin's, and then when I started thinking about everything else he did in AEW and the way it's unfolded, and I really wanted someone to go through the Dark Order to get to Hangman. Like, I feel like that was such an important part of the Hangman and Dark Order story of like, let's show that these guys have your back, right? Instead of just talk about it. And I thought they were going to do that with Omega. So I've really, really liked it. But in the moment, I kind of had a similar reaction to Kevin.
Kevin also saying he didn't feel it was that subtle. I mean, I'll put it this way. I say that it was subtle because normally, right, what we've seen in wrestling in the past, in these in major television, TV wrestling, has been you're a face, the crowd's cheering you, and then you turn quickly, physically, on a face to turn heel, right? That's usually the route that it's gone in the past. The reason I say it was subtle is because he didn't necessarily do that. He came out talking. And the first time he came out talking after winning that tournament, you weren't 100% sure where he was. And then you quickly kind of realized once he started getting physical where he fell, right? He was quickly a heel once he started getting physical and getting into the Dark Order. But Schlong,
he was also a face through the tournament. We have to remember too.
Sure.
Like, that last round was with Miro, who was a heel. So
sure. And still comes out, as Asian Joe said it here, Danielson still comes out of the face tunnel. Yeah. I mean, he just is really playing at all levels here. Schlong, any comments, anything you want to add to this discussion?
I'll only say he was taught, like Kate brought up, he was being a dick to Eddie Kingston. Like, he had been starting to be a dick to lots of people.
But like, inspirationally, you know what I mean? Like, I was trying to get the best you out of you.
But he kind of was inspirationally a dick to Hangman in that first promo.
Yeah.
Of like, it just kept getting more and more. So I kind of feel like they've built it up. I get what Kevin's saying, but I'm with kind of Ant. Usually it's a huge moment that turns a guy heel. Rather, this was just an asshole showing more and more of himself. Like, more and more of like, I'm kind of a prick.
Like, Punk is going to be a moment. Like, Punk's going to like uppercut Hangman in the groin or something. Like, that's going to be nasty. But like, yeah, this Danielson reveal was kind of slower and different. And truly, I think so much of this has been, how do they navigate without Mox? Because I really think that Eddie and Mox were going to be a heel tag team, but Eddie's super fucking over. So then they had the one-off with Punk, who's a face, but everybody was still cheering for Eddie Kingston. Like, I think Mox's exit had shook up a lot of what was happening, more than we may have even realized. And to that, I give them a lot of credit because I think it's been handled very, very well.
Well, either way, it's going to be interesting to see what happens on January 5th and how they build to that first TBS Dynamite and this rematch. So as we get into the next segment, and this is where I want to kind of talk about a possibility I'll lay out for you for Hangman. But they go backstage to MJF and the Pinnacle in their locker room. MJF thanks Shawn Spears for his assistance last week, but he starts to berate Wardlow for not doing enough to protect him from Sting and company before deciding he'd rather blame CM Punk. So, again, MJF is kind of saying, I thought you'd have that champagne ready a little quicker. You're supposed to get my back. What happened? I pay you a lot of money, right? And Wardlow just says, yes.
He called him an accountability buddy.
That's right. Well, yeah, that's what he called him a couple weeks ago. He called Spears an accountability buddy. But MJF says he's not worried about tonight because he and FTR are family, which is something Punk doesn't know about. He and Darby Allin and his creepy clown uncle aren't going to be able to coexist because everything has to be about Punk. And when it's not, that's when the real CM Punk comes out to play. Inside the ring, CM Punk is rustier than Darby's knife that he uses to skin animals, and the nice guy mask is slipping. And when CM Punk decided not to shake his hand, he chose early retirement. Dax then says that he had no problem with Punk until he threatened his family. And when you're looking at all the three kings of pro wrestling, and he doesn't have the balls to kill a king, they're the absolute best unit in the world because when you're the Pinnacle, you're always on top. And Wardlow is going to be in action after the break. So, guys, here's what I wanted to maybe lay out to you. Just think about this. For some reason, Wardlow is now, they mentioned, jumped into the rankings. So Wardlow is, I think they mentioned on the show, was like 5th in the rankings. What about, it's not MJF, but for some reason, Wardlow gets a shot at this title. And MJF winds up costing Wardlow, right? Because he wants a shot at the title. And now we can kind of have that in the background as now we have Wardlow exiting the Pinnacle and maybe going at MJF. But now MJF sort of has his hat in the ring somewhere down the line for a title shot. So we're sort of lining that up long term. But we have this thing that can get Wardlow out of the Pinnacle. Any possibility of that happening? It just seemed really fortunate for some reason that they mentioned, well, Wardlow jumped up to 5th in the rankings, over the last week.
So I don't hate that. I wouldn't be mad if that happened. I kind of want it to be just a little bit cleaner and more personal and have nothing to do with the title between Wardlow and MJF. I just thought about Malachi Black might be a good loss for a good person to lose to Hangman. Because there's so many, if he's building a stable, there's some really interesting stuff that could happen there. That might be cool because Malachi Black hasn't lost yet either, or only lost once, I want to say. He's mostly kicking people's blocks off. So,
yeah. He lost to Cody for sure once or twice.
Oh, that's right. Because he always makes himself.
Yeah.
But that could just be very cool and would obviously be an interesting build because Malachi Black is so fucking cool. But I did like this segment. The only thing I didn't like, and there's little things with MJF that I need him to tighten up, which is he was like, fact, CM Punk, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, none of what you said are facts. And it's so easy just not to say the word fact. like just little things like that.
But I think that's what makes it fun. He's like, fact, and it's not a fact. But he is so cocky and like removed from reality that he's like, it's a fact. It's like, it's not a fact.
Okay, I could buy it. It almost seemed too much like, no, it's not.
Because he's a king in his own mind. You know what I mean? Like his shit doesn't stink and he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean?
the King of Kings.
Well, you know.
Who, by the way, Triple H was trending after Kyle O'Reilly's appearance, which just made me laugh and cry a little bit for Hunter. But I really liked this promo. I think it's kind of interesting because it seems like there's a triumvirate of gentlemen who have peeled off in one direction, and Spears is kind of there. So I'm glad they keep trying with Spears because I think he's great. But I'm kind of wondering if Spears goes the Wardlow route, if he breaks off entirely, and it's just these three guys, maybe if there's a trios title in the picture. But I don't hate your idea about a championship and starting the wheels turning about MJF dethroning Hangman without him being able to do it and doing it in a like kind of protected way with Wardlow.
Doing it and doing it and doing it well. Doing it and doing it and doing it well.
Clipping that one while you sing that in your Diamante shirt and your Santa hat with the checks behind you.
Oh my God. Schlong, anything you want to add about this promo or, anything?
I think I added a lot right there.
All right.
But, no, I liked your idea. I mean, Wardlow gets a shot, MJF gets jealous, and that starts them being torn apart, and that leads to MJF getting his shot eventually. It all works. And then we get more fancy chairs.
Well, we definitely see some fancy chairs in this next match. Wardlow versus Sean Dean. Poor Sean Dean doing the job. Pinfall with the Powerbomb Symphony. I think it was, 4 Powerbombs tonight? And then the simple boot on the chest for the pin. Post-match, Spears attacks Sean Dean with the steel chair. And that is the end of that. So again, they're really just establishing Wardlow here as a monster. This is where they did mention that he's now jumped up in the rankings, but they haven't released the rankings, so I haven't seen him. So I don't know. I don't necessarily have anything to say about this. So we're going to
do Wardlow squashes on Rampage. I don't need this on Dynamite. Move it over.
Yep. So let's keep going. We get a Cody Rhodes, Sammy Guevara promo or package. And guys, this is my fun moment of the night because you know how we all love Dan Lambert. He cuts a promo in the crowd. He starts quoting Shakespeare, some bullshit about responsibility to justice on behalf of leaders such as himself. I don't know. He talks about running the most successful MMA gym on the planet. And then he starts running down TK. He talks up Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page's credentials and says his only concern is that one of his guys gets the next TNT championship match, and they're not going to need any help from the owner of the company to bring the title back to American Top Team. So I don't know if you guys necessarily want to talk about this. I don't have anything to talk about here. It just seems like they're trying to figure out how to line up the next TNT title match. And I mean, I don't know. I think that maybe eventually this is going to sort of break up the men of the year because they're both going to think they deserve a title shot. And, they're going to start to have some infighting, but I really don't know. They don't need Dan Lambert. They don't need to be part of this American Top Team thing. I'm very over it. I don't like it. Anybody want to comment on this?
Yeah, I'll just say that it's even less interesting than it was because there's no MMA guys around. So, it already stunk, in my opinion, and now it's even worse. And I just don't buy that Tony Khan hired someone to talk shit about AEW every time they're on there. Because it's mostly what he does. He talks about how successful his MMA promotion was and how dumb AEW is. And I'm like, that's not a job that somebody would pay you to do.
Right.
And yeah, I think we could have gotten a much more interesting route to Scorpio Sky versus Ethan Page. And I just want to know how many appearances are left on Dan Lambert's contract so that I can cross them off one by one because I am so over it. I
feel like the big reason people were kind of interested was Jorge Masvidal.
And Paige.
Right. Paige quickly became a reason people want to see it. But Masvidal has a fight booked for, or maybe he already had his fight. I honestly don't remember. But I know that at one point Masvidal booked a fight, so he had to go into real fight training camp. He definitely wasn't going to be able to show up and do bullshit in the wrestling ring. So I don't know. Schlong, anything you want to add about Dan Lambert? You can say no.
I just question is no, I don't give a shit about the promo. Why do we think he had such an obvious IFB in his ear? Got pointed out a lot on Twitter.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, if he's just hanging in the crowd, why does he have an earpiece? But then again, why does he have a microphone? You know what I mean? So I have no idea.
Why would you have like? What is it? What purpose does it give him of all people? Like,
maybe just so he could hear what he's saying, or if somebody's feeding him lines. That was an awful long Shakespeare quote at the start. So maybe they were feeding him Shakespeare. Yeah, I don't know, but it was definitely distracting.
The worst.
Fair enough.
So we get the Team DMD Christmas party backstage with Tony Schiavone. Guys, did you notice what sweater Britt Baker was wearing tonight? Who was on her Christmas sweater?
Who was on Britt Baker's Christmas sweater?
It was Hermie from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Do we understand the...
Oh,
he wanted to be a dentist.
Boom, there you go. Loved it. Tony Schiavone mentions to Britt Baker that Britt Baker has never beaten Riho, but she points out that she's bigger, stronger, the champion, and has Jamie Hayter on her side, to which Tony says Hayter hasn't beaten Riho. But Britt says that she built the division from the ground up and she's the pillar of the division and Riho isn't going to dethrone her. So we're building up here to Battle of the Belts in January. I believe that's the 8th. We'll talk a little bit about Battle of the Belts later, but this is the first match that's been announced for that show. It will be Britt Baker versus Riho for the AEW Women's title. They're building to this match. Cool. Anybody want to talk about this? I don't have anything else to say.
It's gonna just I don't know. Something tells me Britt Baker's gonna retain.
Yeah. I think hopefully we're safe in that assumption. So guys, they do go to break and come back with a video package for the Owen Hart Cup tournaments. And really it's a video about Owen Hart himself and kind of what everybody thinks about him. Those two tournaments, they didn't give any more detail on the actual tournaments. We just know right now that these are going to be two memorial tournaments. We'll run one for the men, one for the women, and they will conclude at next year's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. So they're going to run for a pretty long time.
I think there's a pretty good hypothesis out there that I don't think has been confirmed, but I think part of the delay with the Owen Hart specifics is they were planning on doing this in their Canada run, and COVID has since gotten those dates moved. So just in general, it seems like maybe they were planning on booting this thing up in their Canadian dates, and now they're reworking it because of COVID restrictions.
Very possible. Yeah, very possible. There's definitely a lot of issues with cross-border travel right now. I know that's kind of destroying the hockey season. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the tournament. I know I've seen a bunch of people, I think also online saying like, can we take a break from the tournaments? But I don't necessarily have a problem with the tournaments. Like Kate, you've said it before, tournaments give things a real sport field for you. You know, for some people that's rankings. For other people, it's a tournament. Like I'm just saying, like there are a lot of different things that can give people the feel of kind of like real sports. I don't have a problem with this, especially because of kind of what they're tying it into. But I definitely like more details. So I don't have a problem with the tournament.
Excuse me. I think it's because you had a men's tournament and a women's tournament going on at the same time, and they've been long tournaments. But yeah, like I like New Japan, right? Like I'm fine with tournaments. Yep. That whole promotion is tournaments. So.
Well, moving forward, we go into our TBS Championship Tournament semifinal match. Nyla Rose versus Ruby Soho. On the way out, Nyla Rose is introduced first. She's got Vicky in her corner. Nyla Rose is on the way out, and she gets jumped before she can really get anything off of her body in the ring, because Nyla Rose is able to pull her jacket over her head almost like a hockey fight. And now we're starting to kind of get going in this match. And as we cut to the end, Ruby Soho does wind up winning by pinfall with no future. There were a few false finish moments here, but I think if you've been following what we've been talking about on this podcast, we kind of knew that we felt that this match was going to go this way, right? If it's not going to be Jade Cargill making it on the other end, and it's going to be Thunder Rosa, then this could be Nyla Rose winning this match. But I think we all kind of had this pegged for Jade winning against Thunder Rosa. Ruby Soho would get through here so that we can have some sort of cohesive match. Mrs. Money said the same thing. She goes, why wouldn't Nyla Rose win? Why can't she fight Jade? I was like, because can you imagine the shit show that match would be? Oh, my goodness. So I didn't have a problem with this match. A couple things in my brain were like, at one point, Ruby Soho kicks a chair into Nyla Rose's face that Nyla Rose is holding, looks essentially to be out on the ground outside the ring. I know she's a face and all, but just let the referee count, right? Take that count out win and move on. But that was really me picking nits. I didn't have a problem with this match, and it kind of went the way I thought. So, Schlong, you are positive about everything. What do you think about this match?
Fucking hate it. Burn it to hell. No, I like this match. Ruby does a really good job of working with bigger opponents, which is another reason if you're going to have Jade come out on the other side, Ruby's the ideal opponent for her, because Ruby sells really well, but she also lets the bigger opponents deliver moves that make them look really good. Nyla's one of those wrestlers who, given the right opponent, she delivers a good match. She just needs the proper opponents, which AEW has lacked from time to time. And her storytelling's really been the weak spot for Nyla. It's just they get her to these big matches and she fails. So you're going to have to rework what she is. But this also keeps Ruby relevant. You brought her in. She had her title shot. She lost. She could have easily, the way women's booking has been in the past, faded away. And instead, she's in the championship match for the new title. That's a big, it keeps her this is important. She does matter to this division. It just doesn't have her die off. So I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the outcome. I think it was a pretty good finish. And Vicky sold the hell out of a kick to the head with that slow fall to the apron and then that slow get to the ground.
She sure did eat that kick. Kate, what did you think of this match?
I actually really liked a lot of things in this match. There was one spot where Ruby went flying into the stairs. There was something really special about the way she sold it. It was like this very natural baby face trying so hard not to be in a ton of pain reaction, which I really, really liked. It was a very controlled, I'm fine. And you could clearly see on her face that she wasn't. I really loved her finisher on this. I thought it was great. And Nyla's drop kick I thought was really, really good too. Or what was that? What'd she do off the ropes that Ruby sold the fuck out of? There was something.
It was that knee, right?
Yeah,
that flying knee.
The flying knee. That actually that worked tonight. That was really good tonight.
Yeah, and it actually they commentary helped kind of tell the story there too, because Ruby got up grabbing her shoulder, and they said, Ruby's had multiple shoulder surgeries on that arm, so they helped kind of tell that story too. Yeah, I just want to call that out.
To wonder if maybe Ruby's gonna go over. I like. They're not stupid. They know how green Jade is. And I think you can have a protected reign, but I'm also thinking it's TBS. You could kind of go either way, right? You see this woman with this to die for look, charisma for days, but she's not good in the ring. But Ruby Soho, we also have to remember, is very recognizable to people. And they're doing this title on a new network. And she can give people great matches. And if you want a workhorse, that's a good way to go. And I also think I'm a big proponent of, if you have one heel champion, I like having a baby face on the other side of it, because I just feel like it keeps your your division balanced. But I don't know. There's something, maybe it's just wishful thinking, but like Jade's looked so bad that I wonder if I think the route was always supposed to be Jade, but I'm starting to wonder if they're gonna reroute this to Ruby Soho.
It's definitely possible. I think, when we kind of talk through it, my mind was that Ruby doesn't need a belt. She's over without a belt, and she can chase that belt too for a little bit if she loses, right? Like she can kind of step away, maybe insert herself into a women's title picture feud, for some sort of long form story if it's not going to be immediately to Thunder Rosa. So I mean, they could really go either way. But I'm with you, Kate. It's like, it's going to be whatever they decide, right? It's going to be somebody who can hold that belt and have really quality matches, or give it to somebody who's got a look who maybe doesn't have great matches. Not maybe, doesn't have great matches. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I still, right now, I'm holding unless they do something in the Thunder Rosa Jade Cargill match to throw it off. I still think it's going to be Jade and Ruby, and Jade is going to come out on top, but they could definitely, rewrite this.
And we just haven't really had I don't think we've had any really big surprise moments with a championship title victory, which I'm not mad about because they've been great stories. But I'm like, one of these times they're going to shock us. Like, I think the closest we've gotten was, I don't think I saw the Lucha Brothers going over. I wasn't stunned by it, but I wasn't like, oh shit, the Jacksons are dropping. So maybe this is the like, oh damn moment, because I think we're due for one of those.
Yeah, that is a very good point. By the way, I have to take a step back a segment. I totally forgot. Thank you, Asian Joe, for bringing it up. Tony, Mr. Steal Your Girl, Shivani with a mistletoe attempt. That was fantastic, by the way. I loved it. So they go to a break. We come back. We get a video package from Serena Deeb claiming Shida cheated her way to a tainted victory. She's never beaten Shida. Shida has never beaten Deeb decisively, and the feud will seemingly continue because Deeb is not satisfied with the way things have worked out. The biggest thing that I will give Mrs. Money credit for is she said the only thing Deeb needs to work on is her concealer matching the rest of her body.
It's true. It is not even close to the ballpark of her skin tone.
She said she looked like a Simpsons character.
A little bit.
Anyway, we move on to the coolest moment of the night. Malachi Black, he's so goddamn cool, guys. He's like, basically, guys, he's like Fonzie. He's so cool.
Very similar. Malachi Black is always going around punching jukeboxes.
That's right. Hey.
Hopefully he doesn't jump a shark.
No, he's just going to spit mist in a shark's face. So we get Griff Garrison versus Malachi Black here. Guys, again, Malachi Black, pretty much we're at half face, taken over by the darkness.
And you don't want to go much more than half a blackface. It starts to get into racist territory. So I think we're going to hold it here for a little bit.
I mean,
maybe
it's
get
gray.
to 3/4, but we'll...
It's rotting corpse. And I think we said, I think maybe it was Mr. Schlong who brought this up on the show. Maybe it was Matt. Somebody definitely brought up that Malachi said that it grows because he gets stronger.
Oh, that's right.
So it will be fun to see if that starts to inch over the halfway mark as he gets more powerful.
So
but
cool.
Malachi Black versus, I don't know who the fuck this is, Griff Garrison. I think we all knew how this was going to go. Malachi Black wins by submission. He's got the Achilles lock on, so this is a different win for him. And then Pillman tries to take out Malachi Black because he wouldn't let go of that Achilles lock. And Malachi is able to hit the Black Mass, which is such a great looking move, and is able to take out Pillman. And we go to break. So we don't get a Brody King sighting tonight. which I think is fine. We get O'Reilly to show up, right? I would have loved to see goddamn Brody King though. Like Pillman come in, lights out, lights up. Brody King is there, you know.
You
But
just
I think
couldn't,
maybe
though.
you couldn't, not with bringing in O'Reilly. But I think maybe guys, that's kind of where we're going here, right? There's an issue. Malachi Black now has to take on Pillman. This issue's not over. And now maybe there's some sort of like tag team match and we don't know who the partner is going to be. And he shows up with, Brody King, or maybe Brody King shows up in some other way to get an initial tag team match against the Varsity Blondes. So I don't know. I didn't really have too much to talk about with this match. We did see a little bit of offense from Griff Garrison, but Malachi Black just looking fucking cool. Kate, what did you think?
Malachi Black is so fucking cool.
So cool.
He, in a different way, is like a shut the fuck up, this guy is on thing. I'll just say that the black mask looked really good. And Cody's tall too, I guess. But it looks, the black mask looks good on people of every height. And for some reason, Griff Garrison looked really tall to me. And the way he hit it just looked like still super, super vicious. So, this served its purpose. It was great. Malachi Black, I think, is just what a gifted, skilled, talented dude. I love how much he just cares about everything he does, every centimeter of what he does. He's just the best.
Again, us sounding like a broken record. He's so cool, but also just every week I see the guy on TV, his vignettes, everything like that, and I'm like, how did you fuck this up?
Because he's the most just get out of his way guy that you could ever have, I feel like.
Just let him do it.
He's ready to roll.
Schlong, anything you want to add about Malachi Black? Do you also want to talk about how cool he is? Because we could do that for another 45 minutes.
He's really cool. Do you think he's as cool as Fonzie? I have questions.
No. Why bring up such stupidity? No one is as cool as Fonzie.
Wow. That was an aggressive defense of Fonzie.
It was, but you got to defend Fonz because otherwise, he'll come at you.
I'd like to see that match. Malachi Black versus Fonzie.
Guys,
we're all on a pole match.
Guys, we're all going to be a bunch of little Fonzies because what's Fonzie? He's cool. We're all going to be cool.
Cool.
Schlong, go ahead. What'd you have to say?
I think I know he got beat really, really quick, but I've noticed in his last two things that Griff Garrison is far more athletic than people give him credit for.
Yeah, and they said, I didn't realize, but they said during the match he's 23. So he's only 23, right? So, what's that?
He said
I made a joke.
Like 23 and me. Here's a hot take.
Mm-hmm.
I like him better than Brian Pillman Jr.
Me too.
It's funny because when they first started teaming up, I was like, man, I don't understand this because I think Brian Pillman is a little further ahead. But recently, the times I've seen Pillman, I'm like, oh man, what is going? And part of me is like, is it for some reason nerves finally getting to Pillman? Like he's just had missteps here. Even tonight, getting into the ring, he fucking tripped over the rope. Like he just can't seem to get out of his own way lately. It's funny, but yes, Griff Garrison is definitely more athletic than I think people give him credit for. And I think we'll see we'll see other things out of Griff Garrison instead of just being in this tag team, eventually over time. So I think we'll see more of Griff.
We're going to find out who the fuck Griff Garrison really is. Is that what you're saying?
I think at some point we're finally going to break down who the fuck Griff Garrison is. And we're going to do a deep dive into his psyche, into his person. Yes, Schlong, he has to get this out. Yes.
I'm sorry, but you should know who he is because he is the Sammy Guevara vlog champion.
I don't know who he is.
Fuck you.
So guys, they go to commercial, and when we come back, we get a recap of last week's Rampage, specifically the aftermath of that 10-man tag or that 10-man match where Jurassic Express came in to make the save and then square up with the Lucha Brothers. And we get a promo from Big Money Matt Hardy with Private Party. and congratulates Jurassic Express on being number one contenders, but he wants his boys to be number one. So on Rampage on Christmas, his boy Isaiah Cassidy is going to pound that ass and take away the contendership for the Jurassic Express. To which Jungle Boy, and Jurassic Express have a promo where Jungle Boy disputes that Cassidy's going to pound his ass on Christmas, and instead, Jungle Boy is going to shove a lump of coal up Isaiah's ass. A lot of ass play going on Dynamite tonight. It was just very weird. Even Mrs. Money said, "Did he say he's going to pound that ass?" And I was like, "Yeah, he did. He said he's going to pound that ass."
This
Mrs.
is
Money
the
said,
influence of Danhausen. He created the Ass Boys. Now we're getting ass play all over the show.
I'll tell you, Kate, Mrs. Money was all about the pound that ass, shoving the coal up the ass. She's like, I love how they're kissing each other. The dudes are kissing each other now. She's into it. It's very open. It's very welcoming of everybody. And I just thought it was very funny that you have a pound that ass segment and then a shove coal up that ass segment. It was interesting. But at this point, let's run through.
I hope they're using lube.
That's it. Let's just be safe.
I think just make it enjoyable for everyone.
Schlong's ribbed for her pleasure. Promo of the week was the Jungle Boy coal up the ass, apparently. So guys, let's run through the cards that they announced tonight. On Rampage's Christmas edition, we're going to get Jungle Boy versus Isaiah Cassidy. We're going to get Rest in Peace Bear Bronson versus Hook. Bear Bronson's going to get skinned alive and turned into a rug.
Fight a bear!
Yeah. We're also going to get excited Layla Hirsch versus Chris Statlander.
Hey!
And then our TNT title match, Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes. They also, again, say that in 2 weeks on January 5th, Hangman Adam Page will fight Bryan Danielson for the second time with judges ringside in case it goes a full 60 minutes. But we will get our Dynamite New Year's Smash next week. Kate, Eddie Kingston, and Santana and Ortiz versus 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. That should be a great match.
Let's fucking go!
We are going to get our TBS semifinal match. That's Thunder Rosa and Jade Cargill. So we'll get some answers to see what happens there. We're also going to get Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, the real members of Chaos, versus Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. And guys, I know we've been loving the commentary team, but they did announce JR will be back on commentary next week on Dynamite. So that's good for JR because I know I don't know if you guys have been following anything on social. He's been putting up photos of his treatments and post-treatments and stuff like that. It looks painful as shit. So I'm glad. I know at one point a week or so ago, I think he was saying he wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it back on December 29th. And now it looks like he will be able to be back. So that's kind of, that's a good story. I'll take that.
Agreed. Though I've really liked this commentary team, to be honest.
No, I do too. I mean, listen, I love Taz and Excalibur, and Tony has been a great third mic. I really like that team, but it's just good that at least everything's going right for JR with the treatment, and he'll be able to get back.
Speaking of commentary, since we're going to switch into the main event, them consistently using the phrase yam bag.
Oh, that's Taz's thing. Vintage Taz.
I just love that they use it so much.
He said yam bag, and then he was like, well, it was in the yam bag area.
Yam bag region, I believe.
Yeah, the region.
just people know I've been getting sick of the balls promo. You give me a yam bag promo or side, I'm so in.
Kate's in on your yam bag.
Yam bag region.
You don't have the yam bag to fight me.
It's perfect. You don't have the yam bag to come after my title all day. All fucking day.
I just want Hook to use it in a promo. Even if it's the only thing he says, if somebody else, can you imagine if somebody like Taz is Hook's mouthpiece, and then he throws it to Hook. He's like, "What do you have to say, Hook?" And Hook just goes, "Yam bag." I mean,
Or he like has a move that's just like a low blow, and it's just called the yam bag.
well, I mean, I would take any of it. The yam bag.
Yam bag.
Asian Joe's asking, is the yam bag region up by Poughkeepsie? It might be. It might be. So, guys, we get into our main event: CM Punk, Darby Allin, and Sting versus The Pinnacle, Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, and MJF.
That's not who was in this at all. It was Surfer Punk.
Hold on. No. Hold on. We get The Pinnacle make their entrance, and then we get Sting come out, right? And Sting is in his face paint. However, it is CM Punk face paint, crossed, taped up fists, the little lightning bolts under the eyes, and I think he even had something for Chicago in his face paint. Darby Allin comes out, half a face paint, pink. I think that was a little Surfer Sting nod. And then I'll say this. I'm going to give full credit, 100%. At this point, Mrs. Money turns to me and says, "Oh, CM Punk is definitely going to have his face painted." To which my exact response was, "There is no way CM Punk has his face painted. He's not a face paint guy." And guess what we get? We get CM Paint, CM Pants, both in the same night.
It's only
Both.
a 1-letter difference.
CM Paint, Pants. And I don't know, Kate, if you noticed. I noticed it pretty late in the match. CM Pants's pants were Scorpion with the Chicago flag.
So he's not a face paint guy, but he is a Sting guy. And if you notice, he chose Surfer Sting, which is the one I think you would assume that CM Punk would be the bigger mark of. It's just so fun when they do shit like this. Like, it feels like they're just like, what fun stuff can we do? This is a great example of that. Darby's looked like how Darby would put on Sting face paint, and Punk's looked like how Punk would put on Sting face paint. Like, that's just such a blast. What a fun thing to do. And like, also they were in Greensboro. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It just seemed, to me, it seemed like, hey, just a reminder, there's a fucking legend in this match, was what I took away from that. Like, you guys are getting fucking Sting in the main event on 2021 television. Like, to me, that's what it was like. I get to give somebody a tribute while I'm wrestling with them is a pretty special thing. And that was kind of the whole thing that I took away from it. It was just cool.
Well, I will say this. If you thought that, hey, there's so many people in this match, Sting's going to take it easy, you are highly fucking mistaken, my friends. They have proven to us in the past that, oh, we're going to protect Sting, right? No, we're going to let Sting do whatever the fuck Sting wants to do. I'm not going to go through this entire match, but I have to call out a few things here. One, Darby Allin flying through the ropes every time is such a violent looking move. He took out all three of the Pinnacle at one point as they went to picture-in-picture in a commercial break.
The camera work on that spot was excellent as well.
Yes.
It really blindsided you.
Now, the low point of camera work came as Darby Allin flew into MJF across the timekeeper's table, and they cut to it, and the table was already turned over. Nobody was there. We did see that move post match as they were showing the highlights. It looked great. I just wish I saw it on TV in real time. So that kind of stunk. Sting almost killed MJF. At one point, Sting is throws MJF over the top rope, and it definitely wasn't Sting's fault. MJF flew over the top ropes a little too far over FTR, who tried to catch him, but he was just so far over their heads. MJF definitely came down
on the floor,
vertically on the floor, and I guess he cushioned himself enough where he did not break his fucking neck, but that was scary. And then
That was really scary, and I was really glad FTR immediately went and checked on him. Like there's
yes.
some
Yes.
things that are more important than like kayfabe, bro. And that was a really, really scary spot, and I'm really glad that MJF is okay.
Well, that was a scary spot to be followed up by another scary spot. 63 fucking year old Sting, plancha off the top rope to the floor. He looked totally fine getting up after that. But just, there were definitely moments in this match I was like, Sting, you don't need to be doing this, man. You've earned the right to say, I'm not doing this. But, man, at the end of this match, Dax Harwood basically tosses MJF out of the way. He takes the go to sleep. He takes pretty much every move by everybody on Sting, CM Punk, and Darby Allin's team for the pinfall. So CM Punk, Darby Allin, and Sting win. Post matches, the baby faces are standing in the ring. MJF has now crawled his way up the ramp to escape and gets on the commentary microphone, complaining that CM Punk had been dodging him all match, which is also fantastic because that was the other thing I wanted to call out, was the fact that every time CM Punk and MJF were in the ring, MJF would bolt and dodge CM Punk. Just like, classic.
Great
MJF.
cardio for both of them because they were just straight up running around there.
Yep. When it started off, and that was like one of my favorite things about it, it escalated every time, right? When it started, they were just standing in the ring and MJF tags out, right? The next time, I think MJF runs around the ring back in, tags himself out. I think the final time, MJF hopped the barricade, ran up the steps, across two sections, down the steps, back into the ring, tags himself out. CM Punk following the whole time. I mean, just fantastic. I thought this was a very, very fun main event. The way you'd want to kind of close out the holiday show in Greensboro, where Sting, had some really big career moments. So I really like this main event. Ryan, you are a Sting mark. Why don't we go to you first?
That's honestly true. I am a huge
that one's
Sting
for
mark.
real.
I know, that's why I said
it. He should. I mean, I'm glad. Like, if he can physically do it, good for him. And for my TV viewing, it's awesome. But in my head, I'm like, he shouldn't be doing this at his age. Like, dude, like you said, he's earned the right to just say, no, I'm good. I'll come in, I'll do a clothesline, I'll walk out. But he's kind of getting a little redemption for how his WWE run went, and how it ended. Getting to kind of go out on his terms, a little bit of like, he's sorry, it like got me quickly. He's delivering on his terms. Yeah, I just as surprised as you are that I had to cough.
You can just keep plowing through it.
Well, it didn't know I had to cough. It just came.
That's what she said.
Boom.
Roasted. But he's like delivering real moves. He's not, oh Jesus Christ, do you? He's not, going in there and just giving you Christ. I think he's doing more now than Hogan ever did. So it's pretty impressive. I will say, Asian Joe was calling out a point I wanted to call out. There was a point where CM got tagged in, got the hot tag, went to jump off the rope, clearly slipped, but covered it up perfectly. And I forget which of the FTR was in the ring, but they reacted perfectly. Like they went right into the new move. It seemed seamless. Like you knew he slipped, but it was okay.
I think it was Dax, by the way.
Of course.
Was it Dax?
Like, not that
Dax.
Dash is a slouch, but Dax is just like fucking so good.
I was going to say they're both great, but Dax seems to be so good at thinking on his feet when he because it's all visual, right? You have to see that he slipped and just kind of pivot. And he's just so good at doing that. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I do think FTR managed to catch MJF on his dive ever so slightly, but that is what saved his life because it was their bodies basically shielding his head from the concrete that stopped it from being death, basically. Like they got just enough of him, slowed him down just enough that he didn't die. I'm glad that he got, he did stuff after the match, so you feel confident he's fine. They have learned masterfully that Darby camera work on all right, he's going to dive now, so this is where we have the angle. They know it. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I'd like to point out I wouldn't really call this Surfer Sting. This is transitional Sting when he was leaving the Surfer gimmick, but before Crow, when he let his hair go black or brown, and he was kind of more trying to be a little darker, little more serious of a character, and then he goes Crow, and it all changes. So
I like it. Yeah, all the spots you mentioned, Punk absolutely played that off so well, as did Dax. The only thing that I'll add was there was one moment where Sting, I think, was suplexing Cash off the ropes. And there was just this little thing where Cash was kicking his legs in the air. And I was like, God, they're such a good tag team. Like, everything is so nuanced, much like I was saying about Malachi Black. Like, it really looked like you're trying to get out of that move when somebody's suplexing you and you just start kicking your legs. Just masterful storytelling. I'm very glad that MJF is okay off of that. This match felt a little long to me, but I really liked it, and you should give Sting a lengthy victory lap, I think. What a maniac, like at 63, trying to do some of the stuff that he did and doing the stuff that he did. But really, really great. A really fun way to close out this show where it was what it is. Like, it's the week after Winter is Coming. Like, there's probably not a ton moving forward, but I thought I was expecting this to feel like a very down episode, and it still felt like a really solid show to me. So, yeah, this was great. Anytime that Sting is going to lock in the Scorpion Deathlock is like a good day. And I've said this before, but I also really like that the GTS is not protected, much like the Crossroads is not protected, because it's just not that good of a finisher. And CM Punk isn't great at it all the time. So, like, it shouldn't be protected. When Kenta does it, it looks more vicious. It's a good enough finisher, but like it doesn't need to be like the Black Mass where it's like, okay, now the match is over. Like, I actually like that the GTS is not all that well protected. And there was one in this, I think it was on Dax, where it just wasn't that good, and that was okay because it didn't finish the match. So just a thing that I appreciate. In the same way that Danielson having such an arsenal of ways to beat you makes it feel like near falls are possible at any second. Sometimes a finisher that doesn't finish things is really suspenseful in a good way.
Now, Kate, I will just say you're lucky that the mean one, Mr. Matt, isn't here, because I think he would debate you and say that CM Punk originated the GTS. It was not Kenta, and that he is the best one at doing it. So,
that is true. I mean, Matt and I will probably have to do a bonus episode on him just swearing that ECW is inferior to WWE ECW.
Mm-hmm.
The Kenta versus CM Punk debate, like, he just will not concede that CM Punk is the best at that move. And
Dick Bruiser, Ball Crusher.
Yeah, we've got a lot of
Dick Crusher.
Like, there's a lot of respectful counterpoints that Matt and I have. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I said it in our little text message that we had going on right before we jumped on here. I thought this was a fun episode. Like, nothing earth shattering came out of this, but it was a fun show. Great right before the holiday. And we're moving into a packed Rampage, which, by the way, the Christmas Day Rampage is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern, not 10 o'clock Eastern. So that's a nice little gift. It's on at 9 o'clock on Christmas night. I'm sure everybody will be exhausted anyway. But yeah, so it was a fun episode. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. Yeah. So guys, let's move on to a few pieces of news and notes from the past week. First thing, Billy Gunn giving props to Mr. Dan Housen.
Who tweeted, by the way, CM Punk hangs out with me for one weekend and this is what happens, which I loved.
That's right. That's right. So basically the ass man, Billy Gunn, because of the ass man, Danhausen refers to, if you're living under a rock, he refers to the Sons of Gun as the ass boys. Apparently Austin Gunn tweeted out a photo of Billy Gunn wearing a shirt that said Sons of Guns, and it had that X'd out, and underneath it said ass boys. So Austin Gunn tweeted out a picture, and it said, "You did this at Danhausen AD, and I won't ever forget it. You're ruining the legacy that me and Colton Gunn have built up for years. If I hear one hashtag ass boy chant, see one ass boy shirt, or any mention of Danhausen during the matches in public, anything, I will sue you." To which Danhausen said, "You heard it here from the ass boys themselves. Danhausen is responsible for their fames. Send monies." He's very nice, very evil, so you should send him monies. But Billy Gunn did definitely say, "You did something I couldn't, so thank you, my friend." And Austin Gunn, kept it going and saying, "Please stop egging this on." And Billy Gunn said, "Embrace the assness." So Schlong, I know you're super happy about the ass boys acknowledging the Danhausen, and especially Mr. Ass himself acknowledging Danhausen. Worlds colliding, my friends. I mean, how do you not have Danhausen come in and run with the ass boys?
He has to be signed. He keeps tweeting about AEW.
Listen, Danhausen's just very nice. He's also very evil. So maybe he's being nice, just trying to talk about some people he likes, but he's also very evil. So he's probably working an angle to try to get signed.
They're also, I think, very aware that he's injured, and him being able to sell some t-shirts off of all of this is probably not the worst thing in the world for him, but he could be just as effective of a mouthpiece, I think, with an injury if they did want to bring him in.
Of course.
I don't, if they wanted to run back Best Friends with the Ass Boys, I think he would be really, really fun. And I'm sorry, Chaos/Best Friends.
Yes.
Or even with the Wingmen or something. But, he is all evil, all nice, very evil. Like, I think, there's no way he's not a fun addition to the program. I don't think they need him, but come on, how fun would he be as a manager running around or whatever while he's injured? I think that could be a really fun run for him.
Mike Peterson says Danhausen is very much a part of A&W. I don't disagree with that. Asian Joe Schlong, let me throw this out to you. Asian Joe saying he can manage Chaos Project on Dark.
That would be very funny.
And very evil.
Yeah.
Very evil. Like I said, I think he heals up. I don't see how he doesn't go into AEW with all the tweeting and stuff he's done. He's gotten the Gun Club over more than they could do themselves. If you're AEW, you're like, maybe there's something to this guy.
Listen, I think if you look, if we're being serious about Danhausen for a moment, his gimmick is weird, but it works, right?
If he could make it work in ROH, he could make it work in AEW. That's my thing. Is if you can make it work in Ring of Honor, which was the most sports-based presentation by far, and he was this weirdo running around there, I'm convinced Danhausen can make, other than New Japan, probably make it work just anywhere.
Sure. Well, my whole point was going to be basically like, they love looking at indie talent, right? And you have to take notice of what he had been able to do. I mean, obviously he's hurt now, right? But even before he was signed to Ring of Honor, I mean, he is a straight hustler on the indies, always promoting his shit, trying to get his name out there. Made it to Ring of Honor. It was, as you said, Kate, like pretty much straight up, like no weird gimmicks. And he was the weirdest gimmick they had and got himself way over there. It can work. I would take a serious look at him if I was them. I really would.
Me too.
Guys, we have to talk about serious news now. Big news over the week. And I'm being serious when I say serious news. Big news over the week. Sammy and Pammy broke up. It was a very quick engagement. But Sammy did come out and say that him and Pam broke up. They're still friends, but they're not, going to be continuing on with their marriage. And, it was something that they put on TV, so people were kind of aware of it. So he came out and made that announcement. Now, where things get serious and really fucking weird is that Tay Conti had to leave Twitter and social media because of the constant pressure she was getting from people basically accusing her of breaking up that marriage. She had been married, her and her husband divorced. Sammy and his fiance now split up. There were some innuendo going around, basically that they were more than buddy. So people were basically going around and I guess really giving it to her on socials. I wasn't really following that closely, but it prompted Sammy to make a second statement saying this shouldn't have to be said, but my relationship with Pam ending had nothing to do with anyone else. Pam and I broke up back in October and just now felt was the time to make it publicly known. Please stop pointing fingers and looking for someone to blame. And Tay Conti's management also had to go put out a statement, and they put it on her, I think, Instagram stories saying, this is Tay's management team writing to let you know Tay is doing good, but will be stepping away from social media for a couple days. In the meantime, we will be posting on Tay's behalf throughout the week. This includes normal posts as well as some sponsored posts that we already recorded earlier the month that must be posted this week. Thank you for reading. Happy holidays from Tay and her management team. So, guys, this has really just become way too common, right? This happened in the wake of Hana Kimura's death, right? People were, not like this happened just in the wake, right? It's been years, but Hana Kimura committed suicide because of a bunch of social bullshit that was going on with her. Cody Rhodes also left Twitter because of people like, just giving him toxic bullshit on there. Just really crazy to see this happen. I don't know, like when you asked the question, like, when is this going to stop? But it's never going to stop because it's just a cesspool of bullshit. I mean, it's crazy. I'm not out, of my mind thinking this is nuts, right?
No, it's awful. It is. I think about just like what my DMs are with like 4,500 followers. I can't even imagine what, God forbid, her messages are open at all in any way. First of all, even if it was true, it's just nobody's fucking business. Second of all, they have the same manager, so they get booked for a lot of the same conventions and stuff. It doesn't mean they're fucking. It means that they get booked at a lot of the same shit because they have the same manager. And furthermore, like, the only reason that Sammy had to be public about it at all is because I think Pam was very heavily featured on the blog and he proposed on television. Like, sometimes people get engaged and then they start figuring out what their future is and they realize they have completely different priorities. That happened to Bailey and Solo. So it's just nobody on Twitter's business. It's not even true. And even if it was true, I don't really understand how it's Tay Conti's fault. Like, it's so easy not to harass people and be a dick. It's so easy. Just don't fucking go out of your way to tweet at someone to be an asshole. Go for a walk. Touch grass, as they say. Get the fuck out. Like, it isn't going to stop, unfortunately. And it sucks because look at Asian Joe. Look at Rob Humphrey. Look at Mike Peterson. Look at all these cool people that we've met. So it just blows and is so unnecessary and also fucked up to do to her and kind of fucked up to do to Sammy, who's in the midst of a broken engagement right now. Like, that sucks. They were together since he was in high school. So that just blows, and you just hope the best for everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps if they didn't weave it into a storyline on television, nobody would ever.
Yeah, they gotta stop doing that. Nikki Bella and John Cena, like, these TV proposals are just doomed.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing, Kate, kind of to your point, right? Like, everybody involved, regardless of what happened, like you said, it didn't happen, and if it did happen, it's none of our fucking business. But if something did happen between Sammy and Tay Conti, they're fucking adults. It's their life. It's their decision.
Yeah. And honestly,
who is the morality police? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My God.
It's certainly not unheard of either. Like,
no. No.
Oh no, people break up.
Yeah. People fuck around and break up. It happens.
It happens all the time.
Everybody's an adult. Schlong,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
The people on Twitter are definitely perfect. We should throw that out there. Yeah.
All the keyboard warriors with the Twitter fingers are perfect humans. Yeah. So guys, moving on from that, we did get some more details about Battle of the Belts. Now, I did want to touch on this, but like we said, we did get our first announced match. It's Britt Baker versus Riho for the AEW Women's World Championship. But Tony Khan did an interview with Culture State on December 20th. And he had given away 2 pieces of information. He said Battle of the Belts is a 1-hour event. He said, I can't put every belt on the line. It's a great chance on a Saturday night to expand the reach of AEW by giving the fans great championship matches, which is a night that we know people love watching wrestling, that you can build an audience, especially for a big event. So there's going to be big championship matches. I'm very excited about it. So guys, the couple things I want to talk about here, at least just, discuss is, one, I feel like an hour is a miss at this type of event. Like if you're going to say it's Battle of the Belts, 1 hour is a miss. This needs to be a 2-hour show. And the second thing, so one, wondering your thoughts on that. And then 2, the other thing is, like you said, you can't have every belt on the line. We're going to be getting Danielson and Hangman a couple days before, so we know that the World Championship is not going to be defended on the show. So, I mean, what are we going to get? We're going to get tag teams and then maybe TNT, because we're also going to have the TBS title announced. So, I mean, knowing what we know now, does this show excite you at all? Like, I mean...
Yes, because I think this is where they're going to announce trios titles. I think you're going to get both TV titles and the women's title. And then I think they're going to introduce the trios titles.
No, you can't do both TV titles here because they're doing TBS on Wednesday night. We're going to see it in Newark.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So it has to be tag.
So tag, women's, TNT maybe, and then the introduction of the trios titles.
It has to be. There's no way. While I do think they could announce trios titles here, they can't have a match for trios. I mean, we're talking now 2 weeks to build. So if they did not, if they didn't do it yet, then they're definitely not doing it next week. You know what I mean?
I just don't understand why you don't make this 2 hours and do something like invite titles from other shows.
I also don't know, and Schlong will pitch to you next. I just don't know why maybe you don't do the first TBS Dynamite, right? Just do that as a Battle of the Belts and then just make the TNT show something different, right? Or push it to a later date. Because I think the other thing that maybe is still questionable here is the fact that when they announced that Dynamite was moving to TBS, was that they were going to be doing quarterly supercard shows, but it's not clear if this is that quarterly supercard show for TNT. You know what I'm saying?
I just realized, I wonder if they're going to do a buy-in and it's actually going to be 90 minutes.
Could be, but then what else are you going to put on? What are you going to put on the buy-in? Because there's no other belts.
Maybe your first trio titles are announced and the first matches happens. That would feel like a big deal. If it was, we're introducing the trios titles and they're getting crowned right now, that feels like a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems weird. Like, it just seems weird to be like, we're doing this big special and it's only an hour, and it's called Battle of the Belts.
Cole and what if it's Britt and Riho on the buy-in and Danielson and Cole are just gonna fight for an hour all the time?
Every show just go an hour.
Every time. That would at least make it feel like it's a special if it's like we're introducing trios titles and the match for the inaugural one is happening right now. And it's Shane Taylor Promotions versus, you know what I mean? Like if there's something, they would just have to juice up that part of it. But as of right now, there's nothing about that excites me. But Tony Khan's not an idiot. Like there's no way there's not something big waiting in the wings for that.
Let me pitch this, and then Schlong, for real, I want to throw it to you. So I'll pitch this question to you, and then you can give your take on the other stuff. Just hit my brain as Kate was talking about the possibility of a buy-in. I don't like the fact that they would be like, we're announcing trios titles, and here's our inaugural match, and we're going to crown them now. Like they would have had to do that tonight or something to drive interest. But here's maybe where my head's at. On social, I think this past week, FTR was basically calling out the Briscoes saying, come to Holiday Bash. Is there a possibility at Battle of the Belts, maybe they do a buy-in and the Briscoes show up and it's a Ring of Honor title match or a belt versus belt, AAA versus, Ring of Honor tag team title, kind of match, for brand supremacy. I don't know what the fuck you want to call it, but what about the possibility of that happening?
I don't see it because I don't think Ring of Honor has their shit together enough to give up their belts to someone else, and I definitely don't see AEW giving their belts up to anyone who's not signed to AEW. So,
well, FTR don't hold an AEW.
Oh, you could do.
title.
Oh, you're saying that? Yeah, the AAA. I guess if AAA, if them boys go down to Mexico, but I just don't see ROH having their stuff enough that the FTR could win it, and I don't. So maybe, but
it also doesn't have to be for belts. They both own belts, right? So it's just a champion versus a champion, right?
Or they don't even both have to be on the line. Like you could just have one of them on the line. But there are also heavy rumors about the Briscoes signing with AEW, if that influences your opinion at all. I think that's a very real possibility. I was hoping this would be a 2-hour special where it would be like you get the Impact Knockouts versus whoever, like that it would be extremely cross-promotional. Like if you're going to do a super card like that, it would be cross-promotional in that way.
Right. Or like the NWA Women's Champion.
Yeah, why not? Like
whoever. Yeah, no, I know. I just feel like an hour is sort of like a letdown and a miss. I just don't understand it. I mean,
a letdown with a buy-in interests me, and there's no way Tony Khan just throws together an hour without there being some extreme, either a huge surprise or like a pretty solid card and a medium surprise. Like he's too calculated for just like, here's some matches that we're calling a card.
I mean, they're definitely doing other stuff that night, right? Like they're going to tape other stuff. They have to. You're not just selling the arena for an hour, right? So, they're going to tape something, but I don't know. Just sort of a letdown to find out it's going to be an hour show on television when they could have filled 2 hours easy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Let's see. And then, honestly, I think I had something else here, but it didn't make sense. So that's it.
Go home to Christmas, baby.
Asian Joe's saying he thought Battle of the Belts was going to be their version of WCW Clash of Champions, which had a 2-hour runtime. I'll wait to see it play out. But right now, No, I think you're correct, Joe. When they kind of came up with this, I think that was sort of the understanding was that this was going to be their version of Clash of Champions because they couldn't use the name Clash of Champions. They came up with Battle for the Belts.
I don't know. He doesn't really seem like a big WCW guy, that Tony Khan.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, they've never done a war game style match.
No.
You know, they definitely have never signed any legendary WCW talent or commentary.
Not at all.
You
Nothing.
know, or people with any ties to WCW for that matter of fact.
Yeah, and Eric Bischoff has never shown up.
Oh no, God, no! You don't want him showing up, never. So guys, that's it. That's all we got. I got nothing else. I've given it all. I've left
really
it all
did.
on the table.
You really did.
So guys, what are we doing for Christmas? Kate, you're hanging at home, going to your parents? What's going on?
Going to my parents. We usually do like the Christmas Eve into Christmas deal more. So I'm looking very forward to that. Probably my favorite thing that my family does around Christmas, it's not giving gifts. It's not a special meal. We judge people's Christmas lights in the neighborhood, like pretty harshly. We're pretty mean about it. It's all in the car. Nobody knows it's happening.
That's the Christmas spirit.
That's the
judging
Christmas
people's
spirit.
Christmas lights.
Yeah, just being mean for no reason.
Like judging people's relationships via Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. But nobody else knows we do it. So my hope is that we'll be able to FaceTime my sister and have her in on the judgment of the Christmas lights. So,
wow. So
what are you guys? Oh, go ahead.
Beyond the Christmas, Kate, why don't you tell everybody where you're going to be over the next week?
Oh my goodness. So there's a possibility that I'll be doing a Christmas Day stream, but we're going to find out closer to Christmas Day. But on my normal schedule, you can find me on Tuesdays on the Fightful YouTube, right after NXT with Alex Pulowski on Sour Graps, where we just absolutely fucking shred NXT 2.0. It's terrible. Wednesdays right here with the Mark Order talking all things All Elite. And then on Fridays, with Sean Rossap doing the SmackDown, God bless me, and AEW Rampage post-show every Friday over there, except not Christmas Eve and not New Year's Eve. But we'll be back in our regular rotation January 7th.
Well, it sounds like a fun Christmas and a busy week for Kate. Schlong, what are you doing for Christmas, and where can people find you?
So for Christmas, my family does a get-together on Christmas Eve, which means I'll probably end up with COVID. So that's going to be fun.
Awesome.
I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of everyone's boosted. People have had it, but and it's recently, but I'm like, it's still going to happen. I just know it. That's it. I'm here on Wednesdays. That's it. I live tweet from our Twitter on Mondays and Tuesdays for Dark and Elevation. You can follow us at Mark Order Pod. Just follow us anyway. I'll interact with you if you interact with me. I say silly shit all the time. I bother Kate. It's funny. That's about the extent of it.
I thought you said you did something today. Plug it.
So today, and Kate should have plugged it too, because she is actually live tomorrow, because I harassed them about that.
I didn't know
On
that.
bodyslam.net's YouTube channel, there is a show where they fantasy book different things with Jay, Shell, Nicole, and Carissa, and I don't know Chris's last name, but I feel really bad for that. So I pre-recorded mine because they're going on holiday break, so I don't know exactly when it airs. I'll let people know because I'll put it on Twitter. But Kate is live on there tomorrow at 5 because she gets to go live where I have to fucking be pre-recorded.
Well, you can't be trusted, and I can. So
I proved that today, trust me.
Oh my goodness.
Staff. That'll be a fun one, though.
Well, Christmas Eve, I will be at my parents' for the big Italian Christmas, all the fish and all that stuff.
Nice.
We'll do Christmas Day here with Mrs. Money's mom and sister. We'll do our brunch. We'll do gifts with the boy. Then we're off to the doctor's house for Christmas dinner. Then I'll come back and hopefully catch some Rampage. And then you'll catch me back here next Wednesday night on the Mark Order podcast. Nobody wants to invite me to shows. I'm a facilitator. I'm not talent. I'm just a facilitator. Wow.
You did the Alabama Slammer one.
I did.
People love
fun.
you.
Guys, Schlong said it. Follow us at Mark Order Pod on our social, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Give us a follow on YouTube. Thanks to everybody who's been chatting with us tonight. We love the fact that you guys watch us live. Thanks to everybody who listens to us in podcast form. If you are listening to us in podcast form, wherever you're listening, subscribe, like, rate, review, whatever you got to do to help us show up in the algorithms. But we do also suggest, if you've never checked us out in video form, head over to our Facebook, our YouTube, our Twitter, where these videos live on forever, because it's a lot of fun seeing Ryan in the Santa hat playing around with it all night, not paying attention.
No. I was paying attention. I had a very specific goal of trying to get Kate to laugh because she would cough if I made her laugh. So it's through physical comedy that I tried to make her laugh.
Don't work.
But also the Ass Boys in the background and the new Blackjack or whoever it was, the new Young Guns, and all this other stuff. But also, don't forget, get your free stickers at Mark Order Pod on our social. Slide up in our DMs. Leave us your name and address. We will send stickers anywhere in the world. The Mark Order Podcast is also going to be at January 5th's Dynamite in Newark, New Jersey. We're also going to be at the February 9th Dynamite in Atlantic City. All of us will be at that one.
Full strength.
The full team. Plus Mrs. Money. That's going to be fun. Mrs. Money's also going to be in Newark with us, so that'll be fun. Yeah.
Yay.
So if you're going to be at those events, let us know. We'll say hello. I have stickers with me at all the events, so we can give you some stickers live and in person. But we will be back next week for our final Mark Order podcast of 2021. If you thought 2021 was a shit show, wait till 2022 starts. Because we've got a bunch of stuff on the back burner, and we will let you guys know about it as it comes to life, where you can find us and what we're working on. But we appreciate everybody for supporting us. We love you guys. We hope you all have a happy, safe, healthy holiday, and that you will join us again next week. Kate, Ryan, truly, I love both you guys. Hope you guys have a happy holiday, and just don't get COVID, please. Kate, don't get COVID again.
Sadly,
I'm so good at getting it though.
Kate's like, it's effortless. I just do it.
Take away the one thing I'm good at in this world.
Come on, guys, I'm really good at COVID.
No, I love you guys too, and I hope you have just the happiest, most wonderful holiday that you can after a very weird fucking year, but you guys are a really great part of it, so appreciate you both.
Yeah,
and same here. And to our fans out there, my sign off has to go, and it's so schlong and good night.
So my last thing I was gonna say was just stay tuned, check out our socials. We'll see if we get any fun gifts for Christmas. We'll throw some pictures up. So stay tuned, everybody. Hope you have a great holiday. We'll be back next week with the Mark Order Podcast.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.